Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast. I'm your host, Chris. Thank you. I love you all. And joining me today is Jamie and Jonesy. Jamie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for asking, Chris. How are you, buddy?
I flipped it and reversed it because before we started recording, Jonesy said that he was going to reply first. But by pointing it in your direction, Jamie, I've put you on the spot. And you know what? You passed. You passed with flying colours. So eggs on my face, I guess. Jonesy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you, mate. Good to be back with you too.
Yeah. Always fun. I got to tell you, I look forward to this portion of the week very much so. Yeah.
Keeping us all sane.
Right, so if you are catching us for the first time, we are a gaming podcast. We don't take ourselves too seriously and we talk a lot of shit, so hope you enjoy your stay. If you have heard us before, then, welcome. Glad we didn't scare you off the first time. We are a podcast that is available on YouTube as our main kind of thing because we've got our cameras on. You can see our gorgeous mugs, but we are also on a podcast platform of your choice. I'm talking Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, I don't know, fucking Deezer, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, some other stuff. Just
pretend you don't know them, but you know all of them.
Well, I mean, I did set it up and register. I should know them. To be fair, there's probably some I don't know and I should know them. But anyway, we are a podcast that is brought to you almost exclusively from our patrons. So if you head on over to patreon.com/supershow, you can help this show be as good as it could possibly be. And hey, you know what? Nothing in this world is for free. So we give you some extra behind the scenes podcasts. We have a podcast called the After Dark podcast where we just talk about weird, strange shit that we don't worry about getting demonetized about. And also, who knows, if we have the time today, we'll be recording a very special spoiler cast that'll be hopefully available within the next week.
It's about damn time.
But we'll get into that. And some other things that we're going to be getting into is some new stuff happening with Marvel's Avengers. Some interesting stuff from Nintendo. Some kind of like mind-blowing stats. And yeah, maybe some Halo news, maybe some Fall Guys news. Let's see how we get into it, all right? But before we get started, keep it loose. Now, before we get started, I just do want to point out that some people have been very generous with their patronage, and they are the ones that are actually allowing this podcast to continue. So we got to name them by name. We got to give them all the love. I'm talking about Aaron Cameron, Brett Zerbrig, Freddie K. Official, Hacksaw Book Read, Javelo Cujo, Leo Murga, Lonnie Thompson, Manuel Guerrero, Mindful Pig, Nathan Piers, William Sherry, and of course the big boys, Peaswad, The Dude Abides, and Skylar fucking Music. So thank you all so much. You keep us doing what we love doing best, which is talking shit on camera for you guys to listen to. Now, fellas, I said earlier that we are mostly supported by Patreon. That's because we are monetized on YouTube.
Oh, big boys!
And there was a bit of a controversy last week, fellas.
Oh yes,
because YouTube, in its infinite wisdom, have decided to automatically put in ad breaks in videos. Okay. And last week it put maybe about 15 ads at 3-minute intervals.
I can tell you it was 20, like one every 3 minutes for the whole first hour.
Yeah. Wow. So that's been rectified since because we monetized on YouTube, not because we want to make money from YouTube, but because we think it'll help us in terms of the algorithm. So we really don't necessarily...
sorry, I want to make money on YouTube as well, if that's a possibility.
Yeah, Chris, actually, you owe me 4 cents, just based on the latest numbers.
Add it to my tab, boys. Add it to my tab. But yeah, we have since rectified that, and hopefully it will not continue in the future. If it does, just please point it out, because we don't want to do that. Some people have been very, when we put out a community post saying, oh, don't worry, I'll listen to ads. Like, yeah, we appreciate it. But at the same time, we don't want to turn anybody off more than we probably already are doing.
I'm not going to lie, that annoys the hell out of me. If I'm listening to something on YouTube and there's ads every few minutes, it's so frustrating. So
dude,
it was genuinely like a YouTube's screwing us over.
Yeah, so at the most, what you'll see is a pre-roll ad, and I think one ad at the end is the way that I've had to do it in order to stop it kind of putting in all these auto ads. But yeah, it's such a typical fucking YouTube thing, isn't it? It's like, shame, man. Like, I understand they've got this idea that they want to help people, and they're like, hey, this will make it easier for you to make money. But in a usual, typical fucking YouTube way, they just do it so ham-fisted that it just fucks
Yeah.
everything up. So anyway, apologies. Moving on. All right, and we're going to move on with the comment of the week. This week, coming in from Russ Walton. And he says, next time Troy Baker quotes Teddy Roosevelt, he should refer to the Night of the Museum version. It gives an example of what he means. Person, games are too long. Troy, I'm made out of wax, Larry. What are you made out of? I just thought that was quite fun and playful. And obviously, going off the back of Jamie's miniature rant on the voiceover extraordinaire.
I'm glad that you specified that it was miniature because it really wasn't meant to be a big deal. I just said the guy's a bit cringe on Twitter, and I asked him to suck my ballsack. You know, not in a real world scenario, more of a hypothetical thing, of course. Though if he doesn't want to, he's welcome. And yeah, it kind of got a bit of a life of its own in the last week, but I'm glad people enjoyed it.
Yeah, they did enjoy it. But the reason also why I picked this comment is because we found out that Troy Baker, of all people, runs a Patreon. So
He does.
We thought that was quite funny. And yeah, just reading some of the Patreon, it seems that his cringeness extends further than his Twitter account.
Yeah.
Let's say that much.
You're right, yeah.
The worst thing for me about his Patreon isn't the fact that it's like cringe. It's the fact that he had, from what I remember, there's like 3 or 4 tiers, and like you get some stuff for the first tier. I think you get like access to a Discord or you get something. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But then every other tier you get nothing else. It's just you pay more money.
Hey,
So it's almost like saying if you really like Troy Baker and you want to give Troy Baker money, you can give him money.
look, Jonesy. Ultimately, I'm not here to Patreon shame people. You know, people got to make money the way they can, and the arts are poorly underfunded for a lot of people.
Yes. He's not one of them.
He's not one of them, and also
He's a
he does,
great VO artist. He's fantastic, and you know because he's in every game as well. So you know it's all good.
But beyond that, you also got to think to yourself, just don't be cringe about it. Like you're asking people for money, just don't be cringe about it.
Right, like I'm looking at the Patreon right now, and if I read the about section aloud right now, people would have a tough time distinguishing between the actual about section and me farting directly into a microphone because it's the same amount of guff. Let me tell you.
Okay, so that's going to introduce us to our very first quiz show of the stream. It's called Troy Quote or Jamie Fart. Go on, Jamie, give us something.
Okay, Relator exists in the name of community. Relator is inspiring and all-inclusive. We want to pave a way of communing with the best of what we have to offer. Podcasts, communal music experiences, and playing games with friends.
Jamie, please, dude. I think you shut your pants on that one.
I mean, that was a little bit too close to the leather, sorry.
Too close to the leather.
There was a lot of guff coming out of there.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, enough.
As soon as the word you in italics is its own sentence,
You.
like, what are we doing here, folks? And yeah, that's enough Troy Baker. We'll never bring up Troy Baker again. At least not for another week until we get to criticise his performance as Bruce Banner.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, looking forward to that one. Should be interesting. Okay, I guess we just got to catch up on what we've been doing, between the last podcast and this podcast. And actually, on the Troy Baker's lines, I'm gonna pipe up first, fellas. I hope you don't mind.
Oh, do it.
Because I got some decent news. I have
Tell
finally
the folks that exciting shit.
I have finally finished The Last of Us Part Dos.
Oh, yeah. Woo!
Yes, it was
Well done,
the
mate. Well done.
Spanish bootleg version, but I finished it. Yeah, so I've got some thoughts on that. And as I alluded to earlier in the episode, we will be recording a spoiler cast, hopefully very soon. And that will be exclusive for our patrons. And I think $5 gets you access to all of our past, present, and future Discord content. Patreon content, sorry. Discord access is $2. Yeah, so I played the game. I have some thoughts.
You must have many thoughts.
I have many thoughts. I'd like to touch on a few of them now, with being as spoiler free as possible.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah. Can I say that in its own right, it's an enjoyable game? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think tonally, it's a mess. I think structurally, it's a mess. And
Do you know what? Can I just say something? Because if people don't watch this on YouTube, if people only listen to this on podcasting platforms, I completely understand it. But you are missing out. I'm talking directly to the audience now. You are missing out on Jamie's facial expressions whenever we talk about anything because they tell a story.
Oh yeah,
and you are missing out on it. So
almost,
you should head over to YouTube and check out the recording.
It's almost like
version.
that death by a thousand cuts torture with Jamie. Whenever I talk about
what you don't understand is, guys, my facial expressions, they're a storyteller and they're a relator. They exist. They exist in the name of community. You.
They exist for you.
For you.
Yeah.
My facial expressions are inspiring and all inclusive, and they pave a way of no.
Right, and I guess I will say also, I don't think it's all that innovative of a game.
So what's interesting is I might be wrong, and we'll have to wait for the spoiler cast to actually see where we all stand. But I feel like I know where we all are on the spectrum of who liked what, where, and what.
Totally, because it's the fucking story of the SuperShow. I'm on the one side, Jamie's on the other side, and you're fucking bang in the middle.
No, it's not that. It's not that.
I'm on one side, you're on the other, and Jamie is bang in the middle this time.
I like
How
it.
have you missed? I suppose because we've talked about it already a bit. So
Jonesy and
I better stay away from your guys' kind of conversations about it.
I was saying though that I'm at a disadvantage if I don't bloody remember anything that happened in that game. I'm going to be sitting.
You've got a games diary, so you just refer back to that.
Oh no, my games diary only documents like what I've played and how long I played it for and whether or not I beat it. It doesn't. I didn't write. I was not like fucking day 2. Abby's kind of hot, but she's a bit muscly. Dear diary, I can't figure out if I want to fuck her or not.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man.
See, now I'm thinking that's definitely what it says, and you just don't want to admit
it. Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder like how much else I can talk about without spoiling anything. It's kind of hard.
Probably not a lot, but that's fine because people can head over to the Patreon and they can check out the spoiler cast where you can go ham on whatever you want to say.
Well, let me tell you, you bunch are in for a treat on that spoiler cast.
Oh God!
But I just think that like some of the criticisms that I know it's not just me that other people have had. I just feel that like they could have gone a different way and still tried to kind of maintain what they were trying to do, but just do it in a better way. And I'm not necessarily saying a way to appease the masses, but just to do it in a better way in the basest sense.
Okay, yeah.
It's so hard not to like just react. But yeah. Okay.
Again, like you're reading between the lines on what you're saying. I don't disagree with that statement on the surface level.
On the whole.
Preparation H. Yeah.
What else have I been doing?
I don't know if you need anything else, dude. You kind of
just a mad rush to try and fucking get that done. I didn't do streaming this week. But I was very unmotivated for Monday Night Dota because my friend Paul has packed up his computer.
Right.
But I was still planning on doing something, and you guys can attest to it. I was messaging you guys and saying, "What should I do? What should I stream?" It's kind of a bit of a struggle. And then my son made the choice easy for me because he's teething and he woke up crying, and I was like, "Well." It's too tenuous. Even if I put him back to sleep, I can't be unavailable. So, but on the good news is I've got this bad boy here. So I am holding up for people that can't see a dongle. I love me a good dongle. This is a Wii dongle. It's a Wii output connected to HDMI dongle.
Okay, good.
And I am planning on at some point streaming Super Mario Galaxy 2, the best game ever made, some may say.
I'm looking forward to that stream.
Yeah, and I'm not doing it on Dolphin Emulator. I'm doing it old school. I'm cracking out the Wii.
You're not a fucking crusty pirate, mate.
Exactly. But I think, fellas, I'm going to try and stream today. But this is going to be interesting because if you're listening to the podcast, this is past tense. I would have streamed yesterday. And hopefully we would have streamed Warzone Season 5.
Hopefully.
Which, by the way, is like fucking still the most unoptimized piece of garbage there is.
I just think it's never going to change. Like, they're in this deep. They've got people downloading 40, 50 gigabytes every month. They're not going to change.
Yeah.
They probably want to outdo themselves, like when we say we're not going to do a 2-hour podcast, and then they absolutely do. They're probably like, this one won't be over 40 gig, and then it's like...
At least this one has map changes, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
So
Quite
that's
substantial
something.
Map changes.
Yeah, a couple
So-
of really interesting ones.
So the stadium's been blown wide open, boys, and I think the train station is now operational as well. Is that right?
Train station is now operational with a train that appears to, I don't know what parts of the map it travels around, but there's a train. And that was kind of cool on Apex Legends, I believe, was the first Battle Royale I saw do that, have an operational train in the map, and that was neat.
It's cool. It's cool. It's a nice touch. And other than that, I went to the zoo on the weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, with the little one, and that was a hell of a lot of fun, actually.
Did you have to mask up and shit? Like, how does that work?
No, we only ever had to mask up once, which was to get into the lemur enclosure.
Right.
But social distancing, what they do is they stagger the release, and they only allow a certain amount of people in.
I bet lemurs are shit at social distancing, aren't they? They just climb all over.
I actually think they were really good because I only saw fucking
2
one
meters,
of them.
mate.
They're all fucking high.
really?
Oh, is that the bit, Chris,
okay.
where you're walking through, like, and there's no fencing or anything. You're just almost in the bushes, and they're running
you
around
walk
and swinging
into
around.
their enclosure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There was
I
only
remember that.
one that was like sitting outside, and everyone else was kind of like chilling and sleeping. But yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. I like the zoo. I like animals. What can I say? But yeah, other than that, only other thing I have to report is a fucking Monster Pacific Punch. Go on, Jonesy. What have you been up to?
I did a stream yesterday, and I streamed some Destroy All Humans again, which was fun. I'm still enjoying that remake. It's a very good looking remake. I think the thing that I'm still taking away from that is that, I mean, it's obviously an older game when it comes to gameplay, but it looks great and it sounds great and it's enjoyable and fun. So I thought I would touch on it again. But I've also this week completed Carrion. I finished it, which I wanted to put away because I saw Jamie stream it sort of last week.
Yeah.
And that game looked very cool, but I know during the stream, Jamie, you weren't 100%. You were a bit hit and miss whether or not you liked it. I know that subsequently you might have changed your opinion on that.
Correct.
But I wanted to hop in because I liked how that game looked.
How long did it take you to finish, Jonesy?
Do you know what? I actually have no idea. I really don't know.
Maybe 4 to 5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It was over a
decent.
few days I played it. I sort of snatched a couple of hours over a few days. So yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say Squirrel Gaming?
I did. I squirrel gamed that shit. But see, I would have liked maybe like a sequel or so. If they do a sequel, it had some really cool ideas, and it was a very interesting game to sort of play from the perspective of like the alien monster thing. And they introduced some concepts and some cool stuff, which I would have wanted to play around a bit more with, like some of the powers. You start off quite early on in the game with, and mid game, you sort of get these. You feel quite powerful, Jamie, don't you? Like at some points in the game, you get like a harpoon skill, which you can shoot at people, and you can cause havoc on a broad scale.
Yep.
But then you get to play around with some like taking over people and being like a parasite and moving around as a human amongst the other humans and controlling people. And that is I liked that. I almost wanted them to have more stealth in that game so that you could play around more with the idea of, I suppose it's like the movie The Thing. It would have been cool if you could have more of that. But not a very enjoyable game. I kind of found it dragging a little toward the end with, it has an idea where it effectively shows you a door at the beginning of a level, and you know that you need to get, say, you need to get to 2 different areas and overtake them in order to unlock this main door. And then the next time you see a door, it's got 3 slices, and the next door it's got 4 slices. So you need to get. Now I've got to get 4 of those like areas. Now I've got to get 5, and by the end I'm like, now I need to get 6. It's just like, okay, I get it. I'm kind of, I don't know. It just
You're over it.
It was running a little long for me.
We've got to remember with these kinds of things, and it's so easy to forget these days. When a game comes out and it's got a little bit of hype behind it, like fucking Carrion's an indie game. Like, how much can you possibly expect from an indie game? I'm not saying you, I'm saying in general, like people.
Yeah, it's a very enjoyable game, and I liked it, and I'm it's a good length as well.
Nice.
It's a great game to crack
So,
on.
how much time have you got left to finish BioShock and Death Stranding exactly?
Do you know what? I probably could have finished BioShock like multiple times over if I sat down and just played that game.
Dude, I reckon you've got like 2 hours left in that game, honestly.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I will do it at some point.
But then again, I'm not one to talk. It took me fucking a lifetime to finish Last of Us Part 2. But yeah.
Death Stranding, I have got a full Last of Us Part 2 left to go. I've got
that is
25 odd hours.
That is horrible.
Still to play, I think.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I think apart from that, I played some more Observation, which is a very cool game.
Nice.
I think I'm nearly finished that as well. we've talked about it multiple times, but just in case anyone hasn't played it, it's a game where you play the AI on a space station, but there's some weird shit going on, and you're sort of operating systems.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little mini games that you get to play around with. It's a cool, very cool concept from Devolver Digital, and I don't know if you guys would think this, but it almost has the sort of the sinister sort of aspects of Control, like the way that they use sound and some of the shapes and like weird things. It could almost be linked to that world.
I think I said when I talked about it a couple of weeks ago that for me, the touchstones for its take on sci-fi were more Control and Annihilation than what appears at the start to be 2001 and Interstellar goes in a somewhat different direction.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a very cool game. And Carrion and Observation are both available on Game Pass, so I played them for free. Well, I paid a little bit.
It's been 20 minutes, and there's the first mention of Game Pass. So we're doing
everyone drink. Jonesy's actually not talked about a game that I thought he would. Something you've played 4 or 5 hours of. That's also on Game Pass, Jonesy.
Oh.
Have you completely forgotten?
Something I didn't join in on.
I thought I was going to lead the charge this week. I thought you were well into it.
Grounded, yes. Well, do you know what? It feels like it's almost more than a week since I played Grounded, but no, you're right, I haven't. We played Grounded. We played some on Saturday. We did a multi-person stream. Steph,
explain what Grounded is, Jonesy, before you continue, so that the viewers and the listeners they know what you're talking about.
Grounded was a game that we got shown more of at the recent Xbox event, where they said everything is available on Game Pass, and they have like a Game Pass preview, so it's not the full game. It's effectively like, I guess, like an open beta or a demo kind of thing. But there's a lot to play in it, and it's effectively Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the video game, where you hop right in as a group of teenagers. You can play it on your own, or you can play it with up to 3 friends, where you are in a garden outside the back of a house, and it's a survival game, and it's, I suppose, survival horror, because if you're scared of spiders, then it's pretty fucking horrific. We were playing it on like a medium level difficulty, and it kind of runs in a similar fashion to games like, I haven't played, but I think you guys were saying like The Forest and a couple of other games, where you sort of get resources, you build your base, you try and increase your weapons, you level up weapons that allow you to do cut down different plants and build new things, and you have to scan things that you find at these little research centers, which open up more blueprints for you to make more things to kind of control the environment and keep yourself safe. But then you get bugs and creepy crawlies and all sorts of horrors try and take you out while you're doing it. And we sort of had a bit of a hit and miss, I think. I really like the game. I definitely think I'd like to play it more, and especially when it comes out, because to see more of the story that we didn't get to see that much of. I know, Jamie, you had a bit of an issue with it around the fact of, and when you said it, I didn't think it at the time, but I do kind of agree. Any game that allows you to sort of build up a base, have a fun time with it, and then destroys it in about 5 seconds because a group of fucking lava come and eat it is a little bit questionable. And yeah, it did kind of bug me. And we ended up stopping playing, I think, because we had a few crashes and because a number of bugs came and just destroyed all of our shit. But hey, it's a very cool concept and it's a fun game. And I'd like to play some more of it. I
like the fact that it's got a arachnophobia slider. That's right up my alley. Where you can, the more you slide it, the less spider-like spiders look. And at the maximum thing, it just looks like a bean with eyes.
It's weird.
I don't know how the bean will attack you.
It must just fly around you like it's a. I don't know.
Because it gets rid of all the legs.
Yeah, I will say that arachnophobia slider is 1000% necessary, because I went into it thinking I don't like spiders in real life. I have a bit of an issue with them, but in a video game they feel like a completely separate entity. Not least of all because it's not real. It's not. I mean, that's video game 101. Just like when I used to murder hookers in GTA and tell my mum, it's not real. It's not real. I'm not going to grow up and do this. I was wrong. But turns out that what they've accidentally stumbled upon is the scariest game character I've maybe ever seen in my life. Like, I know people have seen me jump scare at like creepy old ladies in Outlast, or the Baker family in Resident Evil 7, or the Xenomorph in Alien Isolation. That stuff is child's play compared to a huntsman spider. Because what they've done is they've successfully captured the way a spider moves and that speed and that skitteriness and the unpredictability. If anyone's interested, there's a clip. I don't know the easiest way to get it, but you have to do some digging. There's a clip of Steph screaming. Like, would you say it's not unfair to say like a girl, right?
Like a little girl, yeah.
Like a little girl. There you go. At his
goes,
first run,
goes,
yeah.
Oh no, because someone would have clipped it.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell. But honestly, like, there was a genuine palm sweatiness, like fear to just seeing a spider in that game that I didn't think I'd have that reaction to, but I totally did. I totally did.
One of my favourite bits when we were playing was like just suddenly Jamie going, "Oh my god, there's a spider! It's the biggest one I've seen. Oh my god, it's way bigger than a huntsman." And me and Steph just go running over, and you just see it below Jamie in these, and it looks like cliffs, but it is just a few cracks of mud in the ground. Because when you think of perspective, and Jamie's on top of the crack of mud, and the spider's at the bottom, and it is huge.
Do you know when they sleep and it's all like bunched up? And you can just see its legs folded up, and they're like its big hairy legs. And then Jonesy and Steph come near, and it like skitters out, and it's like moving. Oh, dude, it's something
playing
else.
This game. Never playing this game.
Well, that's what the game in general has going for it, right, Jonesy? Is that like for as much as many of its ideas are borrowed from other games, it is very much it's a genre game. It's a survival game, and everyone knows what that means by now. I'm not going to make that comparison. I'm just going to say that. That whole aesthetic, the Honey I Shrunk the Kids aesthetic, the way they've got this cool, not quite tilt shift, but really clever use of depth of field to kind of make that environment that you're in feel massive, but also very much like ingrained within that world. We can still see the house that you're a part of, and you can still see giant trees, and there are little things dotted around the garden, like whether it's a Battletoads action figure that's kind of like half submerged in the ground, or a thrown away drinks can that you can get inside of, and you're in this big, aluminium dome. Like, there are some really nice touches that really lend a feel to like this kind of unique environment. Very cool setting for that style of game, but it is absolutely one of those. You're going to collect sprouts and rocks, and then you're going to make a rudimentary axe that lets you chop down, admittedly, blades of grass rather than trees. It's one of those.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that, because there was saying what Jamie said about the look. There's a very cool sort of feeling when you climb up something slightly higher up, and then you look out upon the entirety of the area that you've been skittering around in. It takes you a while to sort of cross, and and it is just a small patch of grass. It's a very cool thing, and you can then see more with the perspective.
Yeah.
And is a cool thing.
I remember I logged on to watch you guys playing, and I didn't have a lot of time, actually, granted, but for the 2 minutes that I'd logged on, in the first 30 seconds, Steph died 3 times, and Jamie was having a bit of a rant at you guys. And yeah, one of the things that you were saying, Jamie, was like, come on, guys, it's not that hard. It's a fucking Minecraft game. You cut these things to build these things.
I had to cheekily check myself before I wrecked myself on that stream, because I was maybe a bit hot under the collar, but there was an element of me that was like, these boys are playing like they've never played one of these before. Like, every game is one of these nowadays. Pick up the rock. Open your inventory. Like, you can make an axe. And the bit that triggered me was someone started a fight with... Oh, no. Steph found a spider, ran the spider back towards us, so it was attacking all of us. I got killed, and basically you get knocked down but not out. And I remember being down, and my timer was counting down, thinking, someone's going to res me, right? And then I heard Steph going... He said something like... Oh, I wonder if there are slugs in this game. And I looked at the map, and he was about 30, and I was like, Steph, I'm down. Like, res me. Like, what are we doing here?
See, do you know what's funny? Because you say, like, oh, come on, we've played these games before. The only survival game like that I think I've ever played in memory is Minecraft. Like, it's the only one I've
No Man's Sky?
Yeah, but it does that. See, to me, that's very different.
Ark?
Because
Haven't you played Ark?
I did play Ark, but do you know what? All I ever did in Ark was poop and then run around and then and die. I never actually got to like do anything, because you just die so easily that I gave up. I've probably played 5 hours of Ark.
Surely, like, the fundamentals of like, hey, this game gives you some form of like wood-based thing and some form of rock-based thing early on, and you make rudimentary tools out of that. Like, hey,
I mean that stuff's pretty obvious, but it's when you come to like the building stuff and how, like, okay, how do I how do I get to the point where I can build a house? I must admit, I was a bit like, I've got no fucking idea. And Jamie was like, come on, guys, you just do this and chop this and you pick this up. So I said to the guys that we needed a tier 2 axe in order to build.
Oh, God, the tier 2 axe.
Jamie's holding his face now. He's holding his head
for a good reason.
Pity.
Right, there are weed stems, right, that are growing. And if you walk up to them, they say, like, weed. And you're like, weed stem, easy. And it's like, you need a tier 2 axe to chop it down. So I'm like, fair enough. I'd also come across, obviously, grass that you can cut down and daffodils. And my first interaction with daffodils, I guess it glitched or bugged or whatever, but I couldn't chop it down. Like, nothing I did anything. So I kind of thought, that's weird. Because I had the logo. I had the thing that's showing me how to do it. No, I genuinely did. I think it was on stream, actually, so you could go back and see it.
Allegedly.
And it doesn't do anything.
Allegedly.
It did nothing to the daffodils. So anyway... So we then crack on with the game. We killed a ladybird, which was hard. Like, that took a lot. Because they're tough, right? They wanted to kill the shit out of us. We were working our way to getting the tier 2 axe. We were sort of halfway there, and then Jamie just chopped down a daffodil and got some weed stems.
It was Steph. It was Steph.
Oh, was it Steph?
Yeah.
But knowing Steph, he probably didn't say anything for about 10 hours.
Exactly.
And then it was like, well, hold on. So what have we been trying to do? And it was, if you're trying to chop down a weed, then you need a tier 2 axe, but a daffodil gives you weed stems and it only needs a tier 1 axe. And that was my fault completely.
Well, there you go. But yeah, Jamie, it seems that actually your issue with playing with the dudes was less about them understanding the survival sim aspect of it and more just not understanding multiplayer co-op games in general. Like, if you're saying that the thing that angered you was Steph not rezzing you, like that's across any game, dude.
But that's Steph 101. Steph never rezzes you in any game.
Steph just has a very unique approach to that. So, like, as Jonesy just insinuated, you'll be playing Grounded for like an hour and Steph will come around the corner with a minigun. You'll be like, Steph, where'd you get that? And he goes, oh, I crafted it. But that's part of the charm. That's why that's
the joy of Steph. There's
exactly.
that book, The Joy of Sex. It's the joy of Steph.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to playing some like Warzone with Steph one time, and you're like, Steph, where are you? We're under fire, and he's like, I'm making a sandwich, and you'll be like, what?
It's usually I'm down, or it's hey guys, pile into this fucking helicopter. Now watch me fly underneath this bridge and then just fucking kill us all.
That was a good moment, to be fair.
That was so funny. Hopefully you can get on tonight/last night, Warzone Season 5. But Jamie,
where can they see that, Chris, just in case?
I think we've got to give all of us. So mine is Twitch TV/Hot Panic. Jonesy.
I am twitch.tv/SuperShow Jonesy.
Jamie.
Twitch.tv/Full Fat Jamie.
Nice. So Jamie, actually you played another game with Steph this past week.
I did.
Oh yeah. Why did you?
It had me properly chuckling, dude. Like,
I'd actually forgotten
the kind of like the Santa Claus full body kind of chuckle.
Yeah. You know what? I thought it would be. I thought it would create a few more fireworks than I actually did, but it was actually good fun.
Yeah. I think you got to go further than you did to get to the fireworks.
Maybe. I think, but I'll get into why I don't know if there were the fireworks that many people were expecting. Shout out to ASB64, who was always there for any drama for some reason. But Steph and I did some co-op Portal 2, of all things, in the past week. After we both found out that like neither of us had actually finished Portal 2, and we both kind of had the same relationship with it, which is that when puzzles get hard, I kind of just go like,
Portal 2's not hard though, dude.
It got hard enough that I couldn't be bothered. And you know what? Portal 2 is one of those games where, this is going to sound really dumb, maybe you guys can relate, or maybe someone listening can relate. It was a game I played before I knew it was meant to be really good. Kind of like what happened with Outer Wilds, where I played it, thought like, oh, okay, and then like it turns out like a week later, I read a Polygon article being like, why Portal 2 is the best game of the last 152 years. And I'm like, oh, it turns out that I should have been listening to what J.K. Simmons was saying. I didn't realize. I thought it was another weird. Oh, I'm an evil AI game.
So hold on, are you going to go and finish Portal 2 now?
Maybe. I don't know if I could do one of those streams on my own because I'm a bit of a dunce. Let's be honest.
Not as a stream, dude, but as just playing that game is so worth. It's totally worth it. Totally.
I own it on Steam. I already owned it. I didn't even have to buy it. But the thing with me and Steph kept coming across is that we couldn't get angry at each other because neither of us knew the solutions. It wasn't like I knew what to do and I couldn't explain it to Steph, and that's where the breakdown in communication happened. It was like, no, we both walked into a room and either we were kind of weirdly in sync. We either both got to the solution at the same time, or one of us was a little bit ahead of the other and we made it work, and we didn't get stuck, really. Yeah. Like for more than 5 to 10 minutes in like I said, like two hours of playing.
You're more in the earlier stages of it.
Yeah. And I think co-op helps. Like, turns out that game 2011 has a ping system. Who knew?
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of mad.
Yeah.
The bit that had me chuckling so much was eventually you got to a bit where it's all about, was it like velocity and mass? Or something like that? And for context, you put two portals, like one on top of each other, and then you jump into it, and it kind of like, each time you exit the portal, you gain some velocity, and you keep on going through these portals over and over again, and you gain velocity, and then you change the portal, and it kind of flings you out, right? Mm-hmm. But there was, you were in that section, and one of them was like, how can I explain it? Like a really tall, a button like high up on a wall, and a little portal platform on the one side, and Steph just jumped in it, and he kept on going in and out of it. But it wasn't a setup in order to do the velocity. So he was going the exact same speed, just going up and down, up and down, up and down. And Jamie was watching. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And Steph's just like, I'm just checking it out.
Yeah. There was also did you see the bit, Chris, on a similar note where Steph realised that if you put two portals basically next to each other on either side of a right-angled wall, so you can essentially start walking through one and see the back of yourself going into the other. Yeah. And we were just going round and round in circles, the two of us going in and out of this one. We must have been delirious because it was the funniest thing.
You were going in and out of each other's holes, yeah?
Chris, it's called sounding, and a lot of people do it. Just get with the times. It's 2020.
Jesus Christ, okay.
But yeah, Portal 2 turns out still okay.
Steph is great for that kind of stuff because he...
Oh, yeah.
Steph is one of those dudes. It's and Steph, if you're listening, it's seriously no offense to you. It's what the main thing I love about you. But he's one of the dudes where if he gets a game, he fucking gets a game. And if he doesn't get a game, it's a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the enjoyment of playing games with him is the interplay between when he knows what he's doing and when he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. We had to kind of work towards that situation. Like, he's told me in the past that recording the first Overcooked video he was ever in was the closest he's ever come to being angry at me.
Oh wow, okay.
Because he didn't get it. He didn't get it. He was actually new on the job and he didn't know what to expect. And
it was like his
like
first week or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think maybe some of that stuff overstepped the boundaries, which I'll put my hands up and say, maybe all of it did. But there we go. He's still here. He's still with us. He's still streaming with us. So
yeah,
exactly.
To Steph,
Exactly. Shout out to the big boy. But yeah, the other thing I played a bit of this week to quickly put a bow on it is the Modern Warfare 2 campaign remaster that has just been released on PlayStation Plus, and that is, hey, stop me if you're surprised. It's exactly what it said in the tin. I will say, to their credit, it's a good remaster. Like, to the point where I don't think they could have got away with calling it a remake, but they haven't just bumped up the resolution. Like, there's a lot of redone assets and things like that. It's decent looking, not amazing looking, but decent. Yeah. And that's a fun campaign. That was when I think Modern Warfare was starting to fill this void of like moving away from some of the slightly more self-serious stuff that was still present in the first Modern Warfare, and was like, nah, this is the game where Russia invades the United States.
Yeah,
this is
it's more Michael Bay kind of stuff, right?
Big Michael Bay vibes. Yeah, oh my God, Michael Bay vibes. That's hard to say.
Because you want to say Vay vibes.
You want to say Michael Vay vibes?
Michael Bay vibes.
Why is that so much more natural to say than Michael Bay vibes? I don't know. But yeah, whether it's like snowmobile chases or rooftop races on the favelas in Rio de Janeiro, wherever it was, that's an action movie campaign, and it's a decent little thing to pick up for free, I guess, for anyone needing to fill a couple of hours on PlayStation Plus this week.
Not anymore,
or month.
Right?
Huh?
Not anymore.
No, it's this month with Fall Guys.
Or was it this month with Fall Guys?
Yeah. So you can go and pick it up right now.
Last month. Yeah.
No, and I guess because the first Modern Warfare was remastered and was also a PlayStation Plus game at some point, you can now play 2/3 of the Modern Warfare trilogy on your current gen console. So enjoy, and don't play the third.
It actually got me thinking of. I was thinking about the most recent Modern Warfare, so last year's Modern Warfare, that they kind of let the reboot, as it were. And
reboot prequel.
So for those that didn't know, like, almost at the end of that game, it turns out that it's a reboot, but it's also a prequel to the original Modern Warfare. And I was just thinking about like how weird it's going to be when they have to make, because obviously this year it's Black Ops Cold War.
Yep.
And then you'd assume that next year they'll go to the sequel to Modern Warfare. But how?
Right. Do you call it Modern Warfare 2? And if you do pick up that story, do you make a Modern Warfare 2 that's a retelling of the events of Modern Warfare? That's confusing.
It's so bizarre, dude. I don't know.
You've got to think they'll do like and my information for this comes straight out of Lion King, but if you do like a concurrent story, it might be like a 2.5. It's like a concurrent story, which isn't a remake of the second one.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that they're just going to call it like Modern Warfare fucking Parabellum or some shit.
I mean, they're giving the Black Ops game this year a subtitle, and there's some stuff, again, not to get. I don't know if people consider this spoiler territory, but there's some stuff from that final kind of cutscene that tease up what Modern Warfare, the recent one's actually doing, that does suggest there are some differences between this sequel, and the main one being Captain Price sort of implies that the big threat now is Victor Zakhaev, who is Imran Zakhayev's son. So, like, in Modern Warfare, the original one, Imran Zakhaev is the guy whose arm you shoot off in Ukraine, and he remains the big bad guy until the end. And his son is a side character who you go and try and interrogate, and he shoots himself in the head. It seems like maybe they're switching it around this time, where, like, Victor's the bad guy, and Imran's not in the picture. But then again, not a very mild spoilers, but Captain Price insinuates that the mission in Pripyat with Macmillan did happen in this timeline.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's curious.
It's also fucking topsy turvy.
Yeah.
Do you know something about the Call of Duty games that I find weird? Is I think I've played all of them except for one. I think. I have no idea what any of the stories for any of them are. Every time I sit down to play them, I'm like shooty, bang, bang, runny, fight.
I don't think it's that surprising, dude.
And then someone says, "What do you think of the story?" I'm like, was there a story? I just
here's all you need to remember. If anyone brings up one before Modern Warfare, you go, "Oh yeah, World War II." If anyone brings up Modern Warfare, you go like, "Oh yeah, Captain Price." And if anyone brings up Black Ops, you go, "Oh, the numbers, Mason. What do they mean?" Right? If anyone brings up Advanced Warfare, you say, "What about Kevin Spacey?" Huh? Yeah. What?
So the numbers one was the one I didn't play. That was the one I didn't play.
Right.
I didn't finish. I played it, but I didn't finish it. So I think I buy them every year. But.
Was that Black Ops 1?
No, the Black Ops 1 was the numbers, Mason. What do they mean?
Yeah.
Black Ops 2 was the one that was like one of the first times they did branching storylines, and it had like that Melendez guy in it. And like, I don't know. Then Black Ops 3 was the one that kind of goes way further into the future, and that's the one where they're like, you're like plugging into people's brains and shit like that.
Yeah, and cyborgs.
Yeah, and Black Ops 4 was the one that didn't have a campaign.
Yeah. For me, Call of Duty was always not about the story, but it's more about the set pieces. So I could tell you like the set pieces from a game. Like I could say like, oh yeah, in Call of Duty World War II, for example, I could tell you a good set piece was the kind of the infiltration in that French chateau and the liberation of that of France.
Right.
And the shit one would be the train section. You know, and you talk about Modern Warfare, like the original Modern Warfare. You talk about
all gillied up.
All gillied up, yeah. And what for me even more impressive than all gillied up was the Ferris wheel where you got to you got to defend from the horde of like oncoming.
Right, you got to defend Macmillan.
get back and wait. It's a helicopter extraction, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got
I
to,
thought that
run
was.
back to and get
I
there.
thought that was
Yeah,
like the.
that's all still part of the Pripyat stuff, right? Like you've
Yeah.
botched the assassination of Zakhaev, and you've got to get out of there.
And then Macmillan gets injured, and you got to.
Yeah, I think
That's fucking
the
cool,
one that I think that the issue is that there was a big grey area in the middle there with like Ghosts, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare, and then Black Ops 4 to an extent, where it's like, though a lot of those campaigns, maybe the exceptions of Ghosts, were fine, but not super memorable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Infinite Warfare, that was the one where like that actually had a decent campaign and had a good robot companion, and Jon Snow was the bad guy, and Conor McGregor and Lewis Hamilton were there for some reason. But like, I don't remember much about what actually happened in that game.
Yeah.
That was a cool game. I enjoyed that, but yeah, I barely remember the art, the story behind.
But I bet you remember the
campaign.
set pieces.
I remember some of them. I don't remember many of them that well. I remember sort of like more of the features of that game, like the gravity stuff and the flying outside and in space and then having to walk along the hull of ships and shoot.
Yeah, but I remember that more from Advanced Warfare, like the Kevin Spacey stuff, where like your arm gets cut off and you get the prosthetic arm, and that like that running that simulation at the start that gets revealed to be a simulation, and the fight, the last scene with K-Pax, which I won't. I mean, what's the statute of limitations?
Press F to pay.
Right, exactly. That's an iconic Advanced Warfare moment.
Something I wanted to ask you guys. What do you think is going to happen when Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War comes out? What's going to happen with Warzone? Because obviously, it's not the first time they've had a battle royale, right? I mean, they had Blackout,
right?
Which was
shocking.
Which was just
shocking
Black Ops 4. And like, what do they do? Are they gonna make an entirely new battle royale and package it with Cold War, or are they just gonna spin off Warzone into its own client? That would make
Surely they don't touch each other, right? I think they're separate entities at this point.
I think
but you can't. You're not going to have two concurrently running battle royales, right? That seems redundant.
You won't get a battle royale for Cold War, I don't think.
So they'll just have Warzone on its own, you reckon?
So I think the key thing, right, is that the Warzone's free to play. And that means Warzone, I think they just announced they hit 75 million players the other day. Warzone is now the biggest Call of Duty asset. And I think it's in their best interest to keep that going and disconnect it as much as possible from Modern Warfare. So I wouldn't be surprised if the setup is exactly the same. I think if you buy Black Ops Cold War, I think there will be a Warzone option in the main menu, but I think you can continue to download Warzone as a free-to-play game, or either on the Battle.net or on PSN or Xbox or wherever you are.
Yeah. So it'll just launch into Cold War and it'll be like on the one side, like it is now. Cold War's there, Warzone's here, and fucking some other shit is there.
Yeah, and I think you have a standalone Warzone launcher like some people have right now, and you have Warzone being able to be launched within Black Ops like some people have with Modern Warfare right now. Yeah. But on PlayStation, for example, I still launch Modern Warfare to play Warzone. On PC, I just launch Warzone.
Yeah.
Because I think the two things. First of all, you want those 75 million players to have an option on the main menu to buy Black Ops Cold War because it's the best advertising you can give them. And second, like you want to create as much synergy as you can. And I think that's maybe why they do experiment with some kind of Black Ops Cold War related map or setting or theme for Warzone, because then you're in that situation again where they're like, hey, if you don't buy Black Ops Cold War, there are operators you don't have, or there is a new bunch of guns you can experiment with. I think it would be controversial because people are getting used to the meta right now, and I think if every single gun got swapped out, it would be like, what the fuck are we doing here? But so it's going to be a balancing act. Maybe they by then they think they've got enough players to have two separate maps, and the map will determine the weapon set and so on and so forth, and it's kind of like an option. I really don't know.
Maybe. I mean, fucking PUBG's got like 55 maps, so yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And everyone's playing that.
Yeah.
In Asia.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about? What you've been doing?
No, I think I'm good.
You just want to move on to the news.
Yeah, let's crack on.
All right. So the biggest news coming up from the past week is that Spider-Man is coming to Marvel's Avengers. So everybody rejoice. But hold on, not everybody, only people that own a PS4. Because Spider-Man is exclusive to PlayStation 4, which in a way is unsurprising. I mean, Sony
PS5 as well. It's just PlayStation in general, I think. So
Jonesy, you sounded so hoarse there, my friend.
Jonesy. Jesus, that's the...
Right?
I didn't spoken for a little while. It's like when you wake up in the morning and the first word you say doesn't come out right. I think it's PlayStation in general. So I think PS4, PS5, you'll be able to play,
Yeah, and it's not surprising, right? I mean, Sony owned the rights to the Spider-Man films or Spider-Man in films. I don't know, it's all kind of like weird. And they have an agreement with Marvel, even though Marvel owns Spider-Man, that they can appear in the films and blah, 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 blah. But it now seems to extend to games as well. Obviously, they had Marvel's Spider-Man on the PS4, which is a fucking fantastic game. It's a game that I've actually been thinking a lot about, that maybe I'll want to go back and play it, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
I never played that DLC either. I bought it. But I never played it.
Yeah, I never did either. So it might be an excuse. Fill in the gap between now and Miles Morales, I guess.
It's quite cool DLC as well. Like I played 2 of them, so there are 3 released. I didn't play all of them, but completely. I think I played some of the 3rd one. But yeah, they're cool. They're fun little asides to that to tease you a little bit more.
But obviously, having Spider-Man, arguably the most popular superhero out there, right? Exclusive, tied to a particular console, is going to make a lot of people unhappy. I'm unhappy about it. Not that it's going to impact me at all. I mean, I've got a PlayStation. When I play with you guys, I will be playing on a PlayStation. But it's more. It's just not nice, is it? It's very kind of like anti-consumer, in my opinion.
Do you know what? I'm torn slightly, because if this game was cross-platform, which is not, I would say it was a dick move more, because you'd basically have people on Xbox and PC who get to see Spider-Man in their game online, but then they don't get to play as that character. But because it's not cross-platform,
not yet. They have said they do want to do that in the future, and so they have already had to make a statement that's saying that this has no effect on their cross-play plans.
But they've said that but they've also said that there is no. They haven't said they're going to put crossplay in. They've just said at the moment it's not.
But again, they've had to come out and specify this has no effect on their plans. Like they do still plan to go crossplay in the future.
Yeah.
But okay. So what I read was them effectively saying that there's no specific plans to or to not have it crossplay, but they weren't confirming or denying. I
could be wrong. That was my interpretation of the quote.
The quote I saw was effectively, and like I said, it might be a slightly older one, but was effectively saying it's a cross-generational game, but at the moment it's not crossplay, and it's not something they're thinking about now because it's launching as it is. So to be fair enough, that kind of sounds like they're leaving it open for the future.
Yeah.
In which case, I'd then say it's more of a dick move, because if you end up playing that game and seeing Spider-Man, if it was a timed exclusive,
but you don't even have to see him, dude. Like Spider-Man is one of those.
That's worse.
Spider-Man is one of those dudes where you're like, it's a fucking Marvel game where all of these fucking comic characters are coming out. Of course I want to play as fucking Spider-Man.
But you don't get to play Spider-Man on an Xbox. Like, we've known that for a long, long, long time. But
why not?
Because they don't have the deal.
No, they don't have the rights. Yeah, but there have been other exceptions. We all played Spider-Man on the Switch last year in Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yeah.
Like it's business. It's business.
They could do a deal if they wanted to.
That's the thing. Like a lot of people's reaction to this has just been like, yeah, they own the rights. But like that's not mutually exclusive. They can own the rights and also like be nice. Yeah. You know, like two things can happen.
The interesting thing is there are a couple of other PlayStation exclusive things that they've announced, right? So they're going to be exclusive community challenges for PlayStation. That's fine. That makes perfect sense to me. Okay. PlayStation Plus subs will receive rare outfits, nameplates, 100 credits for each new post-launch hero. Like that all, I think, is fine because that is a platform-specific decision. But kind of blocking off a character, and more than that, in my eyes, is blocking off a character of Spider-Man's caliber. I think it's just a really scummy move. At the end of the day, Jamie's hit the nail on the head. It's fucking business. So what are you going to complain about? Like the deal's been done, everyone's going to get their pitchforks on the internet for a couple of days and then forget about it, which is exactly what we're doing. But it doesn't stop it being just a bit of a shitty move.
It's a bit of a weird move as well. Like, as you're saying, they've done deals before, and in this instance, it's not like it's a launch character. It's not like it's it's like a main character in the sort of whole thing. You know, that game's not going to launch with Spider-Man. I think it's 2021, and so you think like, why you probably could have done a deal where you charge them a shitload of money and they can include it in the game, but at the same time, I don't know. I can see why Sony would say, no, we've got Miles Morales, we've got Spider-Man. We have that, that character in our environment, and we want to keep it. And at the end of the day, it could be that they're thinking we managed to sell a few more PlayStation 5s over the Xbox Series X.
But then it gets weird where like Sony aren't making this game. So Square Enix go to Sony and say, "Can we do Spider-Man?" And Sony say, "Only on PlayStation." Square Enix could say, "Okay, then we won't do Spider-Man."
No, but hold on, because from
why
what
would they not, though?
From what I understand,
because they could put their foot down and say,
yeah, but hold on. From what I understand,
we want all characters
Sony
and everything.
don't own the rights to Spider-Man in games.
No, they did a deal with Marvel, right? Because there's still
I think that's only for films, though, dude.
No, but I think I mean on the nature of Marvel Spider-Man for PS4 being a PS4 exclusive, that was a one-off deal. Because Marvel's games wing is still a thing, and if you go on the Wikipedia page for like Marvel games, there are still, if you include fucking iOS and Android and all that shit, there are still fucking 10 Marvel games coming out a year on a bunch of different platforms, and loads of them have Spider-Man. Like, that one game wasn't a thing of saying, hey, Spider-Man can only be on PlayStation 4, you know, now and forever. It's just, but still, like, I don't know.
What do you think to the idea maybe then that Sony went to them and actually said, we will pay you like money to put Spider-Man in it, but we want it just for us?
I think that's exactly what happened, personally.
Yeah.
Because
then that's interesting, because then Crystal Dynamics are then the ones saying, yeah, we'll take the money, but possibly piss off.
No, but it wouldn't be Crystal Dynamics, right? It would be Marvel, because what would happen is Sony would go to Marvel. Sony and Marvel are obviously in contact because Sony is lending the film rights to Spider-Man to Marvel.
Right.
Marvel is kind of allowing it.
All that stuff is so Sony and Disney, Marvel, and
fucked,
like,
dude.
what?
It's so fucked.
And the other thing is, like, this game has been in development for so long. For all we know, when Sony and Marvel were sat down to talk about Spider-Man PS4, Sony could have said at that point, hey, you know that Avengers game you're working on? Let's include Spider-Man exclusively for us as a part of our deal now. Like, none of us fucking know when the deals were between, who initiated the conversation. It is what it is. I think I can see 100% why people who own other platforms are disappointed. I think they're justified in that disappointment. But I think no matter which platform you own, as long as you're casting your vote for one over another, there's going to be disappointments. That's the nature of console ownership. And regrettably, that's just the nature of how these businesses get one over on each other. Are exclusive games in general anti-consumer? I don't fucking know, because I don't really understand the definition of that word, and I'm not good at businessy things. But like, but PlayStation players, it's almost like this is a form of anti-consumer behavior that we're just not used to. No one went on Twitter last week and said it's anti-consumer that I can't play Halo on my PlayStation, because we understand the business.
Yes, yeah.
Now the business is slightly different, and we're unhappy. But I guess the reality is that, and I'm not saying this is a good thing or that we should necessarily accept it, but disappointment is a part of the process. being let down or being fucked over is a part of the process,
like, look, I
because the answer is buy all of them.
Yeah, I don't think it would be as big an issue if it was some other character.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, well, definitely, it was Hawkeye. Who gives a shit?
But then they wouldn't have paid the money, right? If it was like a shitter character, then they wouldn't have.
Where's the money,
Lebowski? Anyway.
Yeah, it's just.
Imagine if that's how Xbox clapped back. They're like, we've got the exclusive rights for Saucer Man, and everyone's like, who? And it's like, here's the cheapest guy on the roster. Just give us a break.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have a kind of, in some ways, I get it, right? Because if you I suppose it comes down to feel for me, and I can't think of, I could be completely wrong, but I can't think of any other Spider-Man games except the Spider-Man games on PlayStation where you get to effectively play as Spider-Man in that kind of way. Spider-Man pops up in different games, but I don't think you
But
get
every Spider-Man game before that Spider-Man game was a Spider-Man game, and they were all cross-platform.
Yeah.
I don't get what you're saying.
But I'm saying, like, at the moment, they've got, like, you can play as Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, because that's the only one of those games they've made.
But I can see why they'd want to keep control of that, because you can only feel like Spider-Man in that game.
Okay,
and Miles Morales.
Feeling like now we're getting into this weird thing of like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is a separate conversation because you don't feel like Spider-Man because it's a different genre.
Because you don't get, basically, you don't get to play in the same way. You don't get to be Spider-Man in the same way, right? And because they've got the Marvel Spider-Man, they're going to have a second one, and they've got Miles Morales.
In a weird way, I know what you mean.
If they want to say, if you want to feel like Spider-Man, you need to come to PlayStation. Then you could say, I want to feel like Spider-Man, but I can go to Xbox and
feel
I can
like
play
Spider-Man.
Marvel's Avengers. Is that weird?
I do know what you mean. I could see a weird thing at Sony where they're like, we don't want Spider-Man swinging on any other console. He can punch, punch people, but he can't swing.
Which is weird, and I'd rather they didn't do it, and I'd rather my friends in that on Xbox and stuff could play as Spider-Man, who like Spider-Man. But I kind of get it from a business perspective, so that they can say, for the authentic Spider-Man experience, you can only get it on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5.
Maybe what they should do, and I don't think there's been any indication of this, that no other platforms are going to get exclusive characters, from what I understand. But you guys,
they've said they're not doing that, which is, that's weird, right, to rule that out.
Remember all those Tekken releases where they had console-specific characters, but each console had a character.
Soul Cal.
Yeah. What did I say? Didn't I say Soul Calibur?
You said Tekken.
Oh, I said Tekken. Yeah,
I know what you meant.
Soul Calibur.
Like Darth Vader, you could be Yoda.
Yeah, exactly. The ones I was thinking of, it was... Didn't
they have Yoshimitsu?
No, it was Heihachi.
Yeah, Heihachi, that was it.
There was one that was like Heihachi, Link, and Spawn, or something like that.
Yeah, so Spawn was Xbox, Link was... you see, I think that's cool. Like, if you have that...
I hated that.
But again...
I absolutely hated that.
But again...
At the time I played Soul Calibur, and I was like, if I buy this game on PlayStation, I'm not going to get to play as... I think it was Darth Vader.
Yeah, Darth Vader was one of them, yeah.
And I wanted to be Darth Vader, and it pissed me off, because on the fucking box, they had Darth Vader on the Xbox version, and I think
Jonesy, imagine you're an Xbox owner and you pick up Marvel's Avengers and you can't play as one of the Avengers.
I'm torn in that, because as far as... No, like, I agree. I think they should be able to. But I'm torn in that people are saying, like, it's one of the best characters, one of the main Avengers. It's like, well, he's not. Even in the MCU, he's like a side sort of Avenger.
No. Your credibility.
He's literally barely in every film.
In
every film, it's Tony Stark saying, "Why don't you sit this one out, kid?"
I agree within the context of how he's been introduced to the MCU that he feels like a side character because he wasn't one of that original crew. But you need to remember, like, Iron Man and Thor and Captain America were dudes we didn't know until like the late noughties, by which point Spider-Man had already had a trilogy that had almost rewritten the rules for superhero movies, with the exception of the third one, and been a box office sensation. Like
that wasn't nothing to do with...
No, Spider-Man's the biggest Marvel superhero.
I'd say so, yeah.
Oh, no, I agree. He is, but what I mean is this is an Avengers game. Like, if this was a if this was a Guardians of the Galaxy game, you couldn't then complain that they didn't have Spider-Man in it, because it's like, well, yeah, it's a Guardian of the Galaxy game. This is an Avengers game.
No, but you just, your argument there is arguing against your own point, because Spider-Man...
No, it isn't.
Spider-Man is an Avenger, dude. So if you buy an Avengers game...
Yeah, like they all are. Like they're all Avengers in the end,
only a certain set of superheroes are Avengers. Yes, it chops and changes, but Spider-Man is one of, like... He's one of the Avengers.
He's considered an Avenger.
He is.
Oh, then okay. Yeah. Then I didn't realize that. I thought it was like...
Okay, let me put it this way. Imagine if Xbox came out and said you can only play as Iron Man on Xbox. It's the same fucking thing. And
I see where Jones is coming on. I think it's the way that the nature of the dispute around the usage of Spider-Man in the movies meant that we were introduced to the Avengers and the concept of the Avengers long before Spider-Man was there. And that meant the way he's introduced narratively speaking, is like he's this kid who happens to be mates with Tony Stark, and I think that makes him feel like, you know, a side character.
Kind of like because obviously in the MCU you do have Guardians of the Galaxy. You've got oh god, I can't even remember half the people that are in it now. But you have a whole load of characters who are in the Avengers movies, but they're not Avengers. So it's like, who are the Avengers? But yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm just completely wrong.
Yeah, I just think it's mad, dude. It's like, like I said, imagine they said, oh yeah, Iron Man is only available on one console. It's like mad.
But see, Iron Man, like as we were saying, Iron Man to me is as though they said we're going to have a Magnificent Seven game and one of the 7 people wasn't in it. You'd say that's ridiculous. But I suppose to me, Spider-Man feels like you've got the 7 and you've got an additional one who's part of it. But like, I could be completely honest. I don't read the comics and stuff.
It's not like
that. I know why it feels that way though.
Yeah, I get you as well.
100%.
Man, it's just kind of crazy.
By the way, before we leave this topic, can I read a quote from a dude called Scott Amos, who is the head of Crystal Dynamics? And you guys tell me, am I having a stroke or is he having a stroke? Because this is one I read this quote and I was like, I do not know who's having a stroke here, like me or him. Here we go. So the beauty of Spider-Man and what Spider-Man represents as a character in this world is, again, it comes back to the relationship with PlayStation and Marvel. We happen to be ones who can execute and deliver when it comes down to choice of where and what Spider-Man can be. That's a relationship question that you know PlayStation absolutely has the rights to, that as you guys know with Sony's ownership there and Marvel with Sony saying, hey, this is something we can do, this is something we can do on this platform, and as creators we have this opportunity that we can make something unique and fun and awesome.
Have you ever had a dream?
And by the way, I wasn't doing that for effect. There was one full stop in that whole thing after the word Marvel right at the beginning.
It's mad.
That's a hell of a sentence. Can I? So I'm now on Avengers.marvelhq.com.
I knew as soon as Chris and Jonesy finished that last argument, I saw Jonesy's head go down. And he started doing this because he was typing, and I was like, he is 1,000,000% fact checking Chris live.
No, and the reason is because I genuinely don't know. But this has at the top of the page, right? They have
Oxford English Dictionary defines Avengers as
an Avenger as.
So they have like the Avengers. They then have a tab for Spider-Man, so they could be separating them because Spider-Man is so big, but they've got the heroes as Iron Man in the Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Hulk, Black Panther, Shirl, Okoye, Ant-Man, Wasp, Doctor Strange, Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Falcon, Maria Hill, whoever that is, War Machine, Buster, Vision, and Nick Fury. That seems like a lot of characters, and there ain't no Spider-Man.
Yeah, but hold on, because one of the characters is called Hulkbuster.
Yeah, well, exactly. I don't know.
That's a piece of Iron Man armor, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, but maybe that becomes its own character.
Do you know what? Idea. We're all going to look really dumb this time next week when we all sit down and agree this game's a piece of shit.
And we never should have spoken about it. Yeah, maybe.
I've bloody pre-ordered the thing, so there we go.
Yeah, you did. Did you pre-order it yet, Jamie?
No, I'm going to do it on Amazon, get the code, cancel.
Wow.
I mean, hey, I don't hate the player, I hate the game.
No,
you're going to give me a fucking pre-order bonus. I'm going to cancel my pre-order, motherfucker.
It was at the admission on the podcast, but fair enough.
I don't care. Sorry, I didn't realize.
Legit.
Oh, sorry, my phone just flashed up. Jeff Bezos is somehow tapping into our Discord called live, and he's very displeased.
He's very angry.
If you've got an Alexa on your phone or in your house, he knows what you're doing.
He's only going to make 17 billion this week, and it's all thanks to me.
Oh. Well, I'm glad that you talked about the greenbacks, Jamie, the dollars, the billions, because you know who's making a shit ton of money, son? Is Nintendo. Nintendo. So recently, it's I think it was a Forbes article that outlined just how successful Nintendo is being. They have had their profits soar by 541% as a result of this lockdown. Because basically, as we all know, the Switch is like fucking pretty much sold out everywhere. Animal Crossing was like the darling of social media for the longest time. And on that, actually, Animal Crossing New Horizons has sold 22.4 million copies.
Outrageous.
How does that compare to like other games?
So it's this. From what I can tell, it's the second highest selling game on the console. First being, to my surprise, actually, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with 26.7 million units.
Jesus.
And third was Super Smash Bros. Deluxe with 19.9 million. Like, dude, basically 3 million more units sold Animal Crossing over Smash Brothers.
Yeah. I think obviously it's still early in its life cycle. I think Animal Crossing will keep selling. But to answer like Jonesy's question, this kind of puts it in the territory of like it's sold better than a lot of like classic games. So I'm looking at a list now, like things like I don't know, Frogger and Lemmings and stuff like that. It's overtaken them. It's kind of in the ballpark region of where the most popular Call of Duty's got to. So Black Ops 2,
is mad.
Yeah, Black Ops 2 got to 24 million. Modern Warfare 2 got to 22 million. That kind of stuff. So it's in that ballpark, and I think it will keep going.
It's mad, isn't it?
San Andreas is up on 27. Stuff like that.
It's mad, but it's also kind of. I suppose it's not unreasonable when you consider. I'd imagine that there's a lot more people that could look at an Animal Crossing game and say I could play that than there would be people that look at Super Smash Bros. And say I could play that.
Yeah.
But it's mad that it's up there with the, like you were saying, Jamie, with those sorts of caliber games because it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played it. I've played a decent chunk of Animal Crossing, and it's fine. But is it as fine as some of those other games? No.
But yeah, it's fascinating. It's like it came out at the right time with the right circumstances around it, with COVID, everyone being at home.
Nintendo started COVID.
There we go.
They could
start spreading the news.
They didn't.
But some more interesting stats coming out of the Nintendo stable, as it were. Pokemon Sword and Shield. Okay. Now, I'm not.
I thought this did shit. You know, I thought this wasn't.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. I'm not a Pokemon fan. So, but from me standing back here looking at the world of Pokemon, the feeling I got was people weren't too hot on Sword and Shield, right? Well, guess what? It's the third highest selling Pokemon game, or series rather.
See if you guys agree with me, but there's a real thing with Switch, right, where it's the reverse to other consoles. Because when I'm on PlayStation, on Xbox, I have to look out there and decide which games not to buy. Because there's always games coming out, and I'm always looking forward to games. I'm like,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I can't buy that because I want to buy this. With Switch, I have the reverse in that I'm like, can there please be some more games to buy?
Dude, I'm dying. I haven't bought a Switch game in like fucking a year.
Yeah.
So is it a sense of that in the Switch? People are crying out for titles on Switch, like top end, top tier Nintendo sanctioned titles, not the go to the e-store and download a game. Like I think there's two sides of it. There's that, and I think it's a very successful indie console, but it's kind of missing that middle ground of that like AA, AAA kind of non-Nintendo thing. Third party, big games. No, you're right. I think you're right. I think it's what it's missing. But yeah, some stats, okay? Pokemon Sword and Shield sold 18.2 million copies. Nice. And it's only bested by Pokemon Red, Green, Blue and Pokemon Gold, Silver. Mad. The Switch itself has sold 61.44 million units, which is pretty hefty. But when you compare it to PS4, and fair enough, it's only been around for half as long as the PS4, but the PS4 is on 112.3 million units sold. Yeah. And all software coming out of Nintendo for the Switch, 406.6 million copies of their software being sold. Like, the dudes are... this is the remember when I said about Steph, how if he gets a game, he fucking gets it, and if he doesn't get a game, then it's... You can write it off. That's like fucking Nintendo as a company, right? Yeah. If they fucking hit on this idea, like the Wii, like the Switch, it's fucking they'll ride that wave all the way home. And then if they hit on an idea like a GameCube or a Wii U, then it's kind of like I don't know if I'm surprised. I don't know if I'm surprised that they didn't sell more units of the Switch, given what's gone on. But given that PlayStation, but they've had stock shortages. So actually, I wonder if that's it. It would have sold a shitload more if the units were available, but then they couldn't make any more because everything was shut down. Yeah. I wonder if they would have sold a lot more. Interesting. It's very interesting. But keeping with the Nintendo news, they've been doing this weird thing, Nintendo, where they just kind of like stealth drop these game announcements. Right. So Pikmin 3 Deluxe has been announced, coming out on October 30th. What do you guys think of that?
I've never understood Pikmin, and I'm not going to start now.
Oh, well, then Jamie, you'll definitely be happy to hear that Pikmin 4 is still in the works.
Like, it looks charming, and I kind of get it, but that's one of those series that I've never looked at closely enough to understand what's actually going on, and thusly have never actually been particularly interested in picking one up.
But what about now if we take it and take your comment and mix it with Jonesy's comment and saying that there's not enough games on the Switch that you want to buy, and now they're like, here's Pikmin 3.
That doesn't count. Like, what Nintendo need and what people are crying out for is a big fucking Nintendo Direct that just says, hey, here's the update on the first party shit that we know is being made somewhere deep, deep miles underground in Japan.
Metroid Prime 4, Metroid Prime 2, whatever new Mario game they're working on.
Hey, fucking Bayonetta 3, where's that? There are updates they could give us that would make a lot of sense, and I'm sure we'll get them eventually. I think it's a little bit strange that they've been quite so quiet on the first party front, but I don't think that's negatively impacted them. I think it's more just kind of like there's a vocal minority. I know we use that term every week now, it feels like, on this podcast, but there's a lot of people crying out for first party. I think most general consumers are kind of happy with the backlog, the back catalogue. And I don't think Pikmin 3 particularly moves the needle in any which way. Not least of all because it's like, yes, there were titles on the Wii U that went underappreciated as a result of how poorly that platform sold, and they need a new audience. I don't think this is one of them. This is another fucking Captain Toad treasure tracker thing where, like, some people are going to be like, oh yeah, I love that on the Wii U, and a bunch of other people are going to be like, okay.
I feel like Nintendo games, especially with sequels and stuff, they need people go online when a game gets announced or when they say something's coming out, and then people kind of go, am I excited about this? Am I excited about this? And they look around online and go, am I excited about this? And if they can see enough places and enough people saying, yeah, you're excited, then it will take off.
Yeah, that's called the fucking Animal Crossing effect.
Right. But then, yeah, I think this seems to have, I don't know. But then I suppose if you don't get enough people going, yeah, you're excited, then it kind of just dies away and people aren't that excited.
As soon as Elijah Wood visits someone else's Pikmin Island or whatever they get, then the game's going to blow up.
Okay, another final interesting little thing, Nintendo related, but also kind of like, let's call it Nintendo adjacent, all right? So there is an author that has done something absolutely ridiculous. His name is John Boyne. You may know him, this Irish author, as the author of Boy in the Striped Pajamas. So there's some pedigree there, okay? So he's he's written this book, The Traveller at the Gates of Wisdom, okay? Which is meant to be a historical drama set in the real world. Now keep that in mind, historical drama in the world that we live in. Non-fiction, okay? Here we go. Although I guess fiction in a non-fictional setting. So he was writing this book, and in this book, there's an explanation as to this character dyes some clothing and says, this is what they've used ingredients-wise to dye this clothing. And hold on, do I have it here?
I've got it up if you need it.
Yeah, why don't you read it out for us in your best Irish accent?
Oh, I can't do that. Essentially, someone's actually taken a picture on the Breath of the Wild subreddit of the book itself, like the print version. So the quote is, the dyes that I used for my dressmaking were composed from various ingredients depending on the colour required, but almost all required nightshade, sapphire, keyswing, the leaves of the silent princess plant, Octorok eyeball, swift violet, thistle, and high-tail lizard. In addition, for the red I had used for Abrila's dress, I employed spicy pepper, the tail of the red Lizalfos, and 4 Hylian shrooms.
Wow. So yes, he put Breath of the Wild dye recipes in his book. And what had happened was he just Googled it. And the first thing that came up, you must have Googled like how to make red dye.
From what I learned, sorry to interrupt, Chris, is that if you Google ingredients red dye clothes, the top result is a link to a guide from Polygon on how to dye clothes in the video game Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, so what John Boyne did is he Googled it, he copied it, and he pasted it in his book. Which is absolutely fucking hysterical. I mean, as soon as you see Octorok eyeball, do you not think that maybe something's a little bit fishy?
And you say, what the hell is an Octorok? Because
Yeah.
I've never heard
Or
of that.
Lizalfos, or what was the other one? Keyswing. Come on, dude. Like, but anyway, he said that he won't change the section, but in future prints it will include Zelda in the acknowledgements. So fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's a part of me that's somewhat at ease knowing that the dude who wrote The Boy in the Striped Pajamas is just as capable as anyone else of not knowing something that they need to know for a book, Googling it, and fucking copying and pasting a section in, or at least maybe he did transcribe it, although that's fucking weird because that means the dude typed out the word eyeball and didn't think anything was weird. And like, hopefully he doesn't think that everything he's ever worn that has been dyed red had fucking eyeball in it. That's a little bit weird. But still, it's nice to know that it's a somewhat human mistake from a dude who's a somewhat successful published author.
Yeah.
Makes you feel a little bit more human.
He's been quite cool with the whole thing and kind of laughing at himself with the rest of the internet, as it were. Yeah. Which, fair play to him.
What else can you do, right? I mean, that's a book in people's hands. At some point, you're just going to be like, yeah. You're not going to pretend that you accidentally came up with the word octo. You're not going to do some. What was the IGN dude, Philip Musin? Yeah, you're not going to pull a Philip and be like, it's just a weird coincidence. I didn't plagiarize anything, We had Octoroks where I grew up. I don't know about you guys.
Well, of course, some of the standard sort of responses that people had, which are, do you know what? Maybe this is going slightly too far. Said that maybe he did it on purpose because it was a little bit of free publicity that he could get for his new book. I'd be very surprised.
Okay, can I fact check you very quickly? Hold on. So what is his name? John Boyne.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see.
How could you fact check that? Whether he's sneakily put it in as some free publicity?
No, because he is 49 years old, and I'm looking at his face, and this does not look like someone who's going to sneakily put in some kind of Breath of the Wild reference for some free
Not
publicity.
least of all because it's almost bad publicity.
I beg to differ. That is definitely the face of someone who would do that.
Poor old John Boyne.
Wow. Yeah, sorry, Jamie, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I'd almost argue it's bad publicity because you're publicising the fact that you're copying and pasting shit from Google in your new book.
But this is the thing. Like, the dude's an author, and he's not like fact-checking. Like
don't people have editors and publishers and stuff?
Edit, right? Like copying someone's edit, putting it into your own edit, and not playing back the edit to see if it fits.
Yeah.
For me, it's the source. It's nothing to do with the copy and pasting. Like, I kind of get that, but it's the source. Because if you type in like red dye recipe, historical, blah, like Jamie did, and you get Polygon, here is a whatever, then obviously you're going to go, well, what's Polygon? They're a video game journalist. Okay, right, we're not going to do that. You'd go and find like an authentic
just seems a bit
source
lazy
to take your historical information. So, because then you have to say, well, hold on, what other sources has he used for historical information?
Yeah,
the rest
exactly.
of
the dude's an
bullshit.
author. You're telling me he can't do some actual fucking research on red dye? Come on.
Done it on purpose to get his book sales up.
Nah, I don't know.
Maybe you're onto something. I don't know.
Tinfoil Hat Jones is out again.
It'll be interesting to see the book sales of this compared to,
Oh, fucking come off it. This is not a publicity thing. Because
4D chess, mate. It's 4D chess.
No, it's not, because who goes... Do you know what, now... Who sat there at home saying, do you know what, now that I know that John Boyne copies and pastes his Google results, I'm going to buy a Traveller at the Gates of Wisdom on sale on the 11th of August.
You may not have heard of John Boyne since The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. You may not have been thinking about John Boyne. You didn't even know who's writing a new book, and now everyone is talking about it.
But who's buying his book because he copies and pastes shit?
And you go off and you buy a Traveller.
This is like a few weeks ago when you thought that, forget it.
Oh,
hey,
man.
I'm giving voice to the lesser accepted opinions.
No, do you know what you're doing? You're giving voice to John fucking Boyne. You're increasing the sales right now.
Yeah,
it's the Streisand effect or something.
Checks in the mail, Jonesy.
Yeah.
All right, look.
Do you know what? This time in a few months, Chris will have read The Traveller at the Gates of Wisdom.
Dude, I haven't read a book in like 2 years. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Okay, Halo Infinite's multiplayer is going free to play with a reported 120 FPS target, fellas. What do you think about them apples?
Well, now we know why it looks so shit. It's because they need to put the textures down. So that
I was
they can get the
thinking
frame
that,
rate up.
like, yeah, it's like whenever you wanted to squeeze out any extra frames on a PC, just fucking turn all those settings down.
To me, do you know what that is to me? That is a meeting where the devs are sitting there, or the programmers, that whoever actually do all the tweaking, and then you've got the guys who are actually signing the checks and who's saying this game needs to run at 120 FPS. That is not anything we can
Yeah,
go below.
non-negotiable. Yeah.
Non-negotiable. And then they go, well, we can't. We're at 112, and they're like, no, it will run at 120, and then they do everything they can to squeak it to 120.
Man,
And they've managed it.
You know what you've just reminded me? This is going to be really fucking nerdy. But what's the dude's name? Frederick Piech, who at the time was like head of Volkswagen. When they were coming out with the Volkswagen Phaeton, he had all of these like ridiculous specs. Like it has to be able to travel at like 240 kilometers an hour and then drop down to like 120 kilometers an hour as smoothly as possible in 2 seconds. And a whole bunch of these like mad engineering requirements, and the fucking dudes did it. The madmen.
Yeah.
Did they do it, or did they just lie about it on paper and then get sued later
Apparently
on
they
and get
did
lots
it.
of
The
recalls?
Phaeton is meant to be like one hell of a car, but the problem is it's got a VW badge on it, so people are not going to spend money on an expensive Volkswagen.
I
There
might.
you go.
There you go.
I might. I've got a few. I've got a bit of
Yeah?
pocket money kicking about.
like,
Yeah, I can
like
see myself.
BMW 7 Series, Mercedes S-Class type money on a Volkswagen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sell my Ferrari and make a bit of space out at the front of the house. You know,
Yeah,
I could see it happening.
Sell one of your 3, yeah.
Big time. I'm a little bit surprised by this news. I'm not going to lie. I
Which
thought
part, the 120 FPS or the free?
not the
multiplayer?
120 FPS. I mean, and again, we don't know what that looks like yet. Obviously, we've only seen campaigns so far, which ran at 60. I think it's probably fair to say that to run at 120 FPS, the multiplayer probably does look a little bit worse. But I think games like Warzone have illustrated that we will accept graphical downgrades from the main game for the sake of whatever it is. Map size in that case, or frame rate in this case. I think the thing that surprises me is I thought that putting a game the size of Halo Infinite on Game Pass was them opening the gates to hell, so to speak, and saying to everyone, hey, come and play this game for probably as little as $1 in some people's cases, depending on what deal they're able to take advantage of. To then make this completely free to play on top of that, the multiplayer portion of it, it's like, how many... I'm curious to know what the audience is of people who will play something that's free to play but won't play something that's on Game Pass. I'm sure there are still a lot of people, but it's interesting. And how many?
I was
don't
wondering
know.
how does that work, Jamie? So it's free to play.
Yeah.
Your estimations, like how do you get your hands on that free to play multiplayer? Because if it's not on, it's on your Xbox.
I think you go to the store page and I think you download the Halo Infinite multiplayer client. You know.
Yeah, it's like Warzone.
So then you get the Xbox app on your PC, right? So is it on the app and it's free to play? So that means everyone with a PC can play it for free.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is that going to be then? Look, this is free. Play it, like it, then sign up to Game Pass because you can play Infinite.
I don't even think it's that personally. I think what they're looking at. So you got to look at it like this, right? Halo is maybe the number one IP for Xbox, right? Can we all agree on that?
Sure.
Yes.
Right? So you got to say to yourself, why are they making the number one Xbox IP free on Games Pass to begin with? And that's probably because they got some kind of monetization in the game, okay? And as we know, we see from season passes, etc., a lot of that monetization is actually going to come in place in the multiplayer. So on the one hand, they're saying, oh, you know what? Well, Halo as an entire experience is free on Games Pass, but they're even lowering the barrier of entry in order for people to give their money. It's just another way of allowing people to give their money by making the multiplayer free, where you'll be put into a match with someone with a cool skin and you say, I want that skin, I'm going to hop onto that season pass, or I'm going to go into the in-game store and I'm going to purchase it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, there's no question that's the benefit of free to play, right? Is you're increasing your audience, and if you're going to try and monetize that audience, the more people you have, the better. I guess I'm just didn't see it coming, to be honest. I honestly thought Game Pass was enough.
Could also be another layer of trying to entice people into Games Pass. Not that you need to entice people, because it's the fucking deal of the century.
Like,
obviously some people don't think that way. But if you're playing Halo multiplayer, and you're like, I fucking love this. I want to play the single player game. I wonder how much it's going to cost. And in the game client, it's probably going to be like, hey,
but like next to nothing, right?
$1
like,
will get you this game.
Right, exactly.
Hey man, somebody should have just said that 3 minutes ago. Oh, they did. It was me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that to me, that's the reason. That's totally the reason.
I get, for me, yeah, the confusion isn't the reasoning. I just didn't think it would happen. And maybe that's why confusion is the wrong word. Just a little bit more like, oh, okay, fair enough. Maybe that's the new tactic. Like,
consternation.
If Gears 5 multiplayer had been free to play, like, would either of you two have played Gears 5 multiplayer? I don't think so.
No.
Probably not.
Yeah, like
Probably not.
And Gears 5 is not it's not a like for like example. It's not a like for like comparison with Halo.
Yeah.
That the series has a different reputation, and the multiplayer certainly has a different reputation. But like, I don't know. I think this makes a lot of sense. Maybe starts to make more sense when we find out more about what the multiplayer in Halo Infinite is. And I'm not trying to suggest that I know anything here, because I absolutely don't. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that Halo Infinite was riding the coattails of everyone else in the industry right now, and also taking advantage of the naturally bigger environments that 343 are designing for the campaign. What if Halo Infinite had a Battle Royale mode? In which case, free-to-play multiplayer starts to make a lot more sense, because you're just doing what Warzone did.
Yeah.
What I would find less surprising would be if they made a standalone free-to-play Halo multiplayer, which was cross-platform, and you could get on the PlayStation as well. And then the idea, but I mean, it would never happen because PlayStation wouldn't agree to it. But then you could maybe get some people to sign up to Games Pass with PCs who never would have thought about it. And then you talk about how Xbox are like working that whole environment thing as opposed to just concentrating on the console. But I mean, I can't see that ever happening in a million years. But
hey,
it's
interesting. I think it's very interesting that they kind of, one of their headlines is like, 120 FPS. That's kind of so confusing to me, because especially if you're talking about like, what do you really want from like stats from a multiplayer? When Valorant came out, they weren't talking about FPS. They were talking about like, what was it, like 128 tick servers and stuff like that, like stuff that matters to competitive play. I guess they're not going for competitive play here. They're going for more for the casual multiplayer, but I just don't. I guess they're just going with the catchphrase for this generation, which is just a high frame rate.
Right. Like, people have had it, forced into their brains over the last couple of years, more so than ever before, that frame rate's important. We all went through the 360 and PS3 generation, us console plebs anyway, not you PC guys, Chris. Not even knowing frame rate is a thing. We all played Red Dead Redemption at 15 frames a second and thought, this is fucking great. Then all of a sudden, 7 years ago, someone invented Digital Foundry, and all of a sudden, I'm sorry, 29 frames a second. I can't play this filth. Like, we all became snobs over the course of a generation, because we all learned what those terms meant and learned what we should expect from games. I'm sure some people last generation were snobby, but I wasn't. Maybe I was younger, maybe I was a kid, I don't know. But we all kind of learned that stuff, and I think maybe there is an element, Chris, you're right, of Xbox learning that, hey, frame rate conversations are big nowadays. If you can deliver a stable and high frame rate, people won't even think twice about whether their displays and the TVs they sit in front of at home even have refresh rates that can match and support those degrees of frame rates. But they're still hitting the marketing terms.
Most TVs operate at 60 hertz.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're going to be spending quite a lot of money unless you've got a PC monitor that can go higher. If you're buying a TV with higher frame rates, you're spending a lot of money. You're getting like 2020 or 2019 TV sets.
I've got 144 hertz monitor, but thinking about the way I play games nowadays, I usually, as long as I'm getting over 60, I will then start to prioritize resolution and graphical settings. Like, if I play at 1440p with everything on ultra and I'm getting 100 frames a second, I'll leave it.
Yeah.
It gets to the point where it becomes irrelevant as well. Like, people start talking about, you get to like over 100 frames per second, even over 60 to be fair, and you start to say like, is it making any difference to your gameplay? Because it probably isn't. Like, you might be able to tell if you had one next to the other, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out there who are like, no, it makes a huge difference to me, and that's fair enough. Like, if you're one of those people, then I get it.
But that's PC.
Until we're sponsored by Nvidia, and then we have to, in each episode, just say, well, guys, frames wins games. So
but like
if you'd had 300 billion frames per second, you would have made that shot. It's like you.
Console players are not even used to stable 60s yet. So the idea that Halo Infinite is jumping the shark and doubling that seems a little bit mad, but there we go. Maybe it will
I
sell.
feel like some of my favourite gaming experiences over the years, the frame rate has dipped to like 2 or 3 frames per second in certain sections.
Right.
And you just roll with it because you're like, oh, yeah, that happens.
Yeah, you got like screen tearing, you got frame rate drops. It's like going all fucking weird.
Again, I always go back to Red Dead Redemption, which wasn't even HD on the PS3. And people didn't even know, let alone care.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
All right, and on to the final news segment, just to kind of cap it off nice and sweetly. Fall Guys, the game that I said I didn't see much point in playing beyond a day, has reached 1.5 million players in 24 hours. So successful that they didn't think they'd have that many people, that their servers just couldn't cope with the influx of players.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because like on social media, it's what we said, like social media, you're kind of looking for the people to say, hey, is this game good? Is this game good? And then they look like, yeah, the game's good. That's kind of what's happening with this. The game's fine, don't get me wrong, but are you going to be playing it beyond like, are you going to be playing it this time next week? I don't know. All those people that on Twitter said, this is the best game ever, it's so much fun. Like, yeah, it's fun. Speak to me again next week. See what you say.
See you sticking to your guns.
I mean, it's a free game. This is the thing. It doesn't mean anything to them at the moment, right? 1.5 million players, but that's zero money because it's
only on PlayStation.
Money into the,
only
on PlayStation.
On Steam, it's £16, I think.
I'm assuming most of that 1.5 million is from PlayStation, though. I could be completely wrong about that. But like you said, what happens in a week's time? Does anyone put any real money in PlayStation into it? How many people actually bought it on Steam?
I can tell you now, they had 56,000 concurrents on Steam.
Oh, so a fraction of the 1.5 million then.
Well, no, that's concurrent players. It's not total players.
Sorry. So the 1.5 million is total.
Yeah. So their highest.
So it could be.
According to this article that I'm looking at least, their highest was 120k concurrent. So almost half of it on Steam. So
wow.
50,
All right.
split.
Does it say how many people have bought it on Steam? Is there a figure for that?
Not that I can find. I can probably search it. But I mean, if you
I would be so surprised if people have sunk money into it. But then,
I wouldn't be surprised. I think the game.
Dude, I can tell you, they've made £896,000 just on the sale of the game on Steam alone. Just looking at concurrents, because if they 56,000 times 16, boom, and then that's not even including anything to do with the in-game store or the. I see Steam also selling like costume packs, which are best sellers.
I don't know why we're surprised this game is selling. Like this game has had nothing but. I think that Jonesy just implied that he was.
I know I am. I'm surprised if they've sold 750,000 copies on Steam in 24 hours. Like I find that surprising
because an overwhelming amount of people don't own PS4s, and this game has had nothing but good publicity everywhere you look.
Yeah. Dude, it was like the number 3 on Twitch when I
suppose looking at the game, like having played it, I suppose I'm surprised.
You need to remember that you two, and you could well be vilified or valid. I don't know, some word. But basically, you two were kind of, I would say, kind of outliers in terms of the general response to that game. Like,
yeah, totally.
Everywhere I look, people are really fucking into it. I haven't played it since we played it.
I liked it.
Fall Guys is 5th on Twitch browse.
Okay. I liked it. Like I enjoyed the game, but yeah, I think I was with Chris in saying that it's not something I'm gonna like play for any length of time. Maybe I'll play it once more and then.
I'll play it when they drop that big patch that says, "Oh, here are all these other cool things," and I'll be like, "Yeah, cool, I'll do that."
Hey,
it is a fun game, but it just runs out of steam very quickly.
That's not the game they were making.
Yeah, they'll call it the Chris patch, where they set the patch notes say, "Sorry, we realised we made the wrong game, so we've just made a different one, the one that Chris wanted."
No, you're wrong, dude, because they in their own blurb
Chris,
about
that's not the game they were making, Chris. Yeah. If they made that, they'd be making a different game. All right.
Sorry, so far the general public agrees with one of us.
Let's give it a week.
Yeah, give it a week. Give it a week, mate.
I don't think we'll get an update, to be honest. I think.
Well, guys, that's it. That's the episode.
There is one more thing to talk about.
Oh yeah. Go on, Jonesy.
One more thing. Because
hold on, because I just want to put a mark in the sand right now. We've been recording for an hour and 38 minutes, okay? Let's see how long
This won't be long.
Let's see how
This
long
won't
this
be
is
long.
going to take.
This is what we should do. We should say, this is technically speaking the end of the podcast, and if you have any self-respect, stop listening right now. If you are fucking a sadistic person who wants to lose sleep tonight, by all means, keep going.
What? I don't think this. Okay, fair enough.
Because we're about to have the most stupid back and forth argument. Whatever.
No, we're not. No, we're not. We'll be civil. We'll keep it civil. Because I think actually the way to frame this, right? We often have things where we say, put in the comments down below the video to a phrase or something to say you've reached the end of the podcast. I think this is an interesting thing to say to people. Let us know in the comments below this who you think was right and who you think was wrong.
Well,
as the information stands. Because we won't know until the actual release. But some more information came out about the new controllers. What are they called? The DualSense 5.
The PlayStation 5 DualSense controller.
Yeah, just DualSense, yeah.
DualSense. So we had a little friendly bet a couple of podcasts ago, effectively saying, or the bet was, and we'll get into the specifics around it, but one of us said that you will not be able to use the DualShock 4 controller on the PlayStation 5, and one of us said you would.
Can I just interject
Chris,
here very
you had
quickly?
an opinion.
Yeah, very quickly. I wasn't part of this deal, but I said that the PlayStation 4 controller would work on a PlayStation 5, but only for PlayStation 4 games. I said
that needs to be fair. That needs to be verified. Chris could be speaking complete bullshit. I've got no idea. But Jamie and I sort of made a bet, and we disagree, I think, as to whether or not if it's correct, and the news that has come out is that you will be able to use a PlayStation 4 controller on a PlayStation 5, but only on PlayStation 4 games. My position is we need to. I think then it's a little bit of a difficult one. It's not clear cut. Jamie says that because you can use, and Jamie, you speak after by all means. Jamie says that that is incorrect because you can use a PlayStation 4 controller on a PlayStation 5, so therefore he was right, even though you can't use it on PlayStation 5 games. But Jamie, you've been doing some looking into it because you got some of the quotes from.
I guess I'll throw it out there for anyone who wants to do a bit of homework. But by all means, like again, if you have any self-respect, don't. But I believe because I believe for anyone that wants to look it up, I think it was podcast episode 16, the one with the DualSense in the thumbnail, around the 53 minute mark. My understanding of the conversation, and look, I will concede that this is not a clear-cut situation. I will concede that there is a huge amount of grey area between where I stood and where you stood and where we both still stand today. But the conversation, as I understood it, was that Chris asked you, and the thing that the bet spawned from is whether or not. Because basically, I've transcribed a little bit of the conversation. I don't know if we want to but
let's get into this.
The bit that I transcribed, and it's not the whole conversation, which is why I think everyone should go back if you're interested and listen to the whole conversation, as I will afterwards as well. And I will apologize if there's anyone considers this removed from context or that the situation changes later on in the conversation.
I think cherry picked is the phrase you're looking for.
So Chris asks, do you think the PS4 controller will be backwards compatible? I say one word, I say yes. Chris steps in, as he just said, and said that he thinks yes, but probably only for backwards compatible games for sure, on a case-by-case basis for PS5 titles. Jonesy, you say, do you mean you could use it on a PS5? Chris says yes, and Jonesy says, I don't think it will be. And then Chris says, at all? And Jonesy says, yes. For me, I think the issue of the argument is
can I just pause you there for 2 seconds? I would love us to do a podcast where you just recite a previous podcast, the entirety, just like that.
I never want to hear that.
I fucking love it, dude. It's amazing.
I never want to hear that.
Chris says this, then Jonesy says, like I'm fucking doing an audiobook.
Yeah.
Look, basically, I think the crux of the argument is that Jonesy, I think, was, with hindsight, too definitive in his opinion in saying that it would not work with the PS5 at all, and he's wrong. I said, I was simply asked.
I completely acknowledge that because I've said.
I don't think I was wrong. I think my argument was that the DualShock 4 would work with the PlayStation 5 with no other criteria or asterisks or anything else, and I believe I'm right. Because the DualShock 4 will work with the PlayStation 5. Full stop.
No, it won't.
Full stop. Yes, it will.
No, it won't. The DualShock 4 will work with the PlayStation 5 as long as you're playing a PlayStation 4 game.
Yep.
So if someone said to you, will my DualShock 4 controller work on my PS5? You're happy to say yes.
Because it is more of a yes with an asterisk than a no with an asterisk.
No asterisk. You're happy to say yes, which is what you said.
I wouldn't be happy to give either one-word answer, but I'd be more inclined to give mine than yours.
No, I disagree with you. I completely disagree with you because here you go. If a mum at Christmas walks into a game and there's a person there who, through some no fault of their own work-based accident, can only reply in yes and no answers, and the mum goes into the game and says, "Little Timmy has got a PlayStation 5. Will this cheaper controller, the PlayStation 4 controller, work on the PlayStation 5? And the person behind the counter can only say yes or no. If they say yes, little Timmy is crying himself to sleep.
That mum asked the wrong question.
Any of his PlayStation 5 games.
The mum asked the wrong question. The mum should not have asked, will this controller work with the PlayStation 5? It should have been, can little Timmy play PlayStation 5 games with this controller? If she'd asked the right question, she'd have got the right answer.
That's ridiculous. It's a PlayStation 5. It stands to reason.
Jonesy, okay, let me ask you a yes or no question.
Hit me.
Does the DualShock 4 work on the PlayStation 5?
Sometimes.
No, it's a yes or no question.
Then I have to say no.
Then you're an idiot. Then you're an idiot. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Say yes.
Because you know what? Because you know what I'm going to do day one. You know what I'm going to do day one? I'm going to pick up a PlayStation 5. I'm going to put a PlayStation 4 disc in the slot. I'm going to put it to connect to DualShock 4. I'm going to take a picture of it's working, send it to you, and say you were wrong. You said no. You were wrong.
I'm going to do.
You were wrong.
I'm going to get a PlayStation 5 day one. I'm going to open the box. I'm going to put a PlayStation 5 game in. I'm going to plug my PlayStation 4 controller in, and I'm not going to be able to play the game.
No, but
I'm going to take a picture of it, and I'm going to send it to you, Jamie, and I'm going to say you were wrong.
Because
the PlayStation 4 controller doesn't work on the PlayStation 5.
Because it works. It absolutely works. The DualShock 4 works on the PlayStation 5.
You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
No, because you're
absolutely
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
You are wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
Yes,
the DualShock 4 is compatible with the PlayStation 5.
Only sometimes.
I don't care.
This is the analogy I asked you, or I don't think we answered before the podcast, was if someone handed you a chocolate bar and said 50% of the time this chocolate bar will kill you, 50% of the time it's going to taste amazing, are you going to eat it? You sure as shit ain't going to eat it.
No, because the question would be if the chocolate bar was poisonous 50% of the time, you'd have said, is it still poisonous? I'd have said yes.
You wouldn't know.
Yes.
No, because 50% of the time it's not going to work. Or not even that, more than 50% of the time.
Wow.
I would say the primary use of a PlayStation 5 is to play PlayStation 5 games.
I don't disagree with that.
Therefore, to the fact that you can only use the PlayStation 4 controller a minority of times
but again,
on a minority
Jonesy,
of games.
You are changing the criteria to satisfy your argument.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No,
because the bet was whether or not the PlayStation 4 controller works on the PlayStation 5. We had no conversation about software. We had no conversation about the specifics of what would and wouldn't work with. It was a question of pure compatibility, and you were wrong.
Weirdly,
right,
weirdly, Chris.
If
hold on, let me just say, because from what Jamie, your transcription, Chris is the most right.
Chris is the most right. If this was a three-way bet, Chris is running away with it.
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't join in on the wager. However, I will say this much, okay? If I may adjudicate, okay, and we can of course ask our viewership to kind of chime in the comments down below on our YouTube video, or tweet us if you will. But there you go. I would say that you are both wrong, but it's a question of by what margin.
Who's wrong more?
I would say, Jonesy, you are 100% wrong. And Jamie, I would say you are 50% wrong.
I can get behind that.
And if there's only a 2-horse race where one person is going to lose 100% of the time and one person is going to lose 50% of the time, the person that loses 50% of the time means that they win 50% of the time. So therefore, it's got to go to Jamie on this one.
Right, this is the thing. Jonesy's purpose in this debate is to deconstruct any argument I've made, because he's lost outright. There's absolutely no question that Jonesy has no leg to stand on. Jonesy is lying on the floor with no legs, trying to hack at the one leg that I have. Because the DualShock 4 is compatible with the PlayStation 5. Full stop, no questions. It is compatible with the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 will recognize a DualShock 4. You have a DualShock 4 plugged into a PlayStation 5 and play certain software on it. There is no question, and that means you are wrong.
No, there is a question.
No, there's not. No, there is not.
There is a
Because I
question.
haven't lied. I haven't made a single
There is
factually incorrect statement.
There is a question here because we still need to day
No,
one plug a PlayStation
see
4
now
controller
Jonesy is
into a
really. You can now
PlayStation
Jonesy's
5.
beyond his last legs. Now Jonesy's starting to lose his arms because
Okay,
now
hold on,
he's
hold on.
entertaining
I
weird.
know how to fix this. I know how to fix this.
No, it's not
Jonesy,
hypothetical.
Jonesy,
Yes, it
Wait,
is
Day one.
because there's
Jonesy.
never been any suggestion anywhere that it wouldn't
guys.
work day one. You've manufactured
Guys,
that.
I
in
fixed it. I
I'm
fixed
not
it.
putting a hypothetical.
Jonesy,
I'm not putting a
I
hypothetical.
fixed it. I've got it.
Go on, mate.
Okay. Come home with the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
You switch it on. It doesn't have
Yeah.
any games installed on it.
Yeah.
You plug in a PlayStation 4 controller. Can you access the menus? Huh? Now it doesn't matter if it's a PlayStation 4 game or a PlayStation 5 game because it's working on an OS fundamental level.
Because then it means that, if you can't use it on the PlayStation 5, you basically need to use
Now,
a
let me
PlayStation 5
posit it to
controller
you.
to access any game that you're going to play.
But let me posit it to you, okay? If you have a PlayStation 4 game in your PlayStation 5 and you are controlling it with the PlayStation 4 controller, are you telling me that Sony are not going to build into a PlayStation 5 that you're going to be able to press the PlayStation button on the PS4 to access some kind of a menu in order to close that PlayStation 4 game? No ways. No ways. So therefore,
to close the game.
So
yeah,
therefore, without any mention of any game, it works fundamentally on a PlayStation 5 OS level. And Jamie, you owe me a fucking lunch because I'll get you a lunch.
I'll get you a lunch. Chris, when Jonesy buys me my PS5 controller, I will buy you your lunch because you know what? Jonesy is bringing games and software into a discussion. Go back and listen to that podcast. There was no mention from either me or Jonesy of software, and now he's bringing up software because there's nowhere else to go.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking hypotheticals. I said
no. I'm not. I didn't say hypotheticals.
Day one.
You're bringing arguments.
Yes, you did.
I'm saying you're bringing arguments into it that we didn't have in that original one. We didn't discuss software. You didn't discuss software. You are doing it now because you are wrong.
I'm not discussing software.
Yes, you are.
I'm not discussing software. No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm saying that if the PlayStation 4 controller doesn't work on PlayStation 5 games, but it does work on PlayStation 4 games, I don't think you can say that you were right in saying that the PlayStation 4 controller
Jonesy, you literally listen to. Please, everyone, rewind 30 seconds. Jonesy says, "I'm not talking about software," and goes on to talk exclusively about software. That is the only leg you have to stand on.
Okay.
You literally just contradicted yourself within. I can clip 30 seconds, Jonesy. I can clip 30 seconds just then of me accusing you of talking about software. You saying I'm not talking about software, and then talking about software because you mentioned
the context. In what context do you mean I said I'm not talking about software?
As in, the only argument you have is that the PlayStation DualShock 4 exclusively works on PlayStation 4 games. We didn't discuss software at all in the original argument. I accused you just then of bringing up software. You just said, I'm not talking about software, and then just started talking about PS4 games on a PS5. That's software.
Oh, no, because what I was going to say was...
I'm sorry, I contradicted myself.
I didn't contradict myself.
You did.
I started talking about something else and you went on a rant.
If this were Twitch, I would clip the contradiction.
What I was going to say was Chris is making a very good point because what he was saying was, could you, with no software, sit down with the actual system, not talking software, and I was going to say about that, if you could not use a PlayStation 4 controller, that's an interesting idea because if we sit down day one and you can't do anything with the PS4
then
controller...
Then how do you launch a PS4 game?
Leaving all the software alone, not touching it. But what I was going to say was what makes it interesting about the game aspect is because if you obviously can put a game into your PlayStation 5, if it preloads the game and then the controller works, and I agree with you, Chris, you would definitely be able to have a button to quit the game.
Yeah.
But if you can't start the game, so effectively day one, if you didn't have a PlayStation 5 controller, let's say you bought a PlayStation 5 unit with no controllers and no games, if you could not do anything with that system, unless you had a PlayStation 5 controller first. So I would say that I'm right.
So
because you would need a PlayStation 5 controller.
Yeah. So do we put this bet on hold until we get our hands on a console and try it out?
I honestly, I get where you're coming from, but I don't think we need to. I think you can explore so many scenarios in which it makes no sense. For example, we all agree that if you're playing a PlayStation 4 game on a PlayStation 5 using a DualShock 4 and you push the PlayStation button, you will go back to the menu, the cross-media bar or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you get back? Oh, sorry, Josie.
So you're saying, let's say you're playing a PlayStation 4 and you push the button.
No, you're playing a PlayStation 4 game on a PlayStation 5 with a DualShock 4. You press the home button. Do we all agree you have to go back to the PlayStation 5 menu? You have to go home.
Oh, I see. No, I don't know, because I could see a situation whereby it's almost like where you push the button and it says, do you want to quit the game? But it doesn't necessarily take you anywhere within the PlayStation 5 OS. So you kind of go quit game, and then as soon as you get back to the OS, you then need a PlayStation 5
and you then have a controller that's plugged in and synced and was working 10 seconds ago and doesn't do anything.
That doesn't work. Yeah,
it doesn't do anything.
I think you are now banking your argument on.
I'm not banking on anything. I maintain that we're both wrong. I've said that from the get-go. We're both.
I'm not wrong.
You think you're right. That's mental. I acknowledge from the get-go.
I think I'm far more right. I think I'm far more right. I think I'm far more right than you, because the original discussion was whether or not the DualShock 4 works on the PlayStation 5, and I think it does. Simple as.
I think we're both wrong. I think we are both wrong. You said it would work, and it doesn't work most of the time. So we're both wrong.
No, but you can't say it doesn't work most of the time. It does work. It does work.
So I think what we need to do, for me anyway, because I think there are some things to clarify, because I don't want to do hypotheticals like you said, because that would be unfair. Mm-hmm. If day one, the PlayStation 4 controller doesn't work, and it's a patched thing that comes along later, we wouldn't know until day one we had a PlayStation 5 to
again,
test. So
no one's ever
It's not hypothetical.
Yeah, it is,
because I'm saying we need to wait until. It isn't.
No one's ever suggested that that's going to be the case. You've made that up.
I'm saying. No, I haven't. I'm saying
where's that come from then? Where's that come from then? The possibility that DualShock 4 support might get patched in. Where has that possibility arisen from?
I am simply saying that until we actually try it. I'm saying until we try it, we don't know the answer, and you're saying that you're right because of a hypothetical. So we don't know.
I'm not saying I'm not saying right because I'm a hypothetical, because I can read right now a Sony official statement saying that the DualShock 4 will work on the PlayStation 5. That means there's no hypotheticals. It is stone cold fact. It doesn't specify because it doesn't need to.
I think
I could sit down and say that the PlayStation 5 won't turn on day one. It's just as nonsense as what you're saying. You're making stuff up.
No, I think it's fair to say that there's a possibility it won't work. It won't work immediately. Anyway, I do think we obviously gonna have to wait until it actually gets released, because we're not gonna.
Can I say something? And I'm being completely genuine.
Sure, go on.
If the thing were the other way around, if this debate were the other way around. Yeah. If I were you where you are right now, I would concede defeat.
Oh.
No, that's ridiculous.
I'm being dead honest. I'm being 100% truthful.
I wouldn't concede on either way until it gets released. Like, that's ridiculous to me, because you don't know anything until it gets released.
We know enough.
Like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. They may have all these good intentions, and then, you know, it might come out day one, and if you want to talk hypotheticals, that the PlayStation 5 controllers don't fucking work, and they have to make every game compatible with DualShock 4. Like, no, until day one, you don't know the answer. I would never concede defeat until we know the answer.
It would be interesting.
That's mental. I think, though, if it doesn't work on the menu, then I think Jamie's 100% wrong.
If it doesn't work on the menu, then Jamie's one. But
because you couldn't even load a game without it.
But once you're in the PlayStation 4 game, it will work. So therefore, it will be working in a PlayStation 5 environment.
So let me, you can say this is unfair, Jamie, but let me say, so intent is often a thing, right? And my intent, as the debate that we had and the bet, was that you couldn't just have a PlayStation 4 controller. So you couldn't forego having a PlayStation 5 controller. And in my mind, if you had to have a PlayStation 5...
Say that again. You're...
So intent, it's the intent, right? My thinking was the intent with the guys at PlayStation is, if you have to have a PlayStation 5 controller at any level to get in the menus, to turn it on, to do whatever,
right,
to load a game, whatever, then the intent is that you will need a PlayStation 5 controller.
Yeah.
And so I would argue that I'm right. If you don't need a PlayStation 5 controller, you could load up a PlayStation 4 game with a PlayStation 4 controller, turn the system on, get into the game, play it. Jamie, I would concede that you're right. Because then you wouldn't, do you know what? You could argue that, hey, I don't ever want to touch a PlayStation 5 game. I just want to play PlayStation 4 games.
So listen,
and it works throughout the menus and everything.
Was the wager whoever was right buys the other one a DualSense controller?
That's exactly
that was the wager was.
Exactly what it was.
So are we now saying, okay, let's put a pin in this and wait until the PlayStation comes out? And
no, man, I want to see comments from people down below saying who they think is right.
I get where you're coming from with the thing you just said, Jonesy, and it makes a lot of sense. I just think the issue for me is that the bet spawned from the fact that in that podcast, Chris asked you Chris asked you to confirm that you don't think the DualShock 4 will be compatible with the PlayStation 5 at all, and you said yes, and that's what the bet spawned from. That's what I disagreed with.
I didn't think it would. I didn't think
and that's what I disagreed with. That's what in my mind we're making a bet about, and that's what has been disproven.
See, I think you're being a little bit disingenuous, because I think to say that you meant caveated would only work.
I think that I'm not being disingenuous, because I'll admit there was a huge gulf between what I thought I was making a bet on and what I actually thought.
So, okay, can we confirm then that we're now saying if you need a PlayStation 5 controller to like in the menu,
the only thing I'm confirming is that you are not going to let this argument be ended before the PlayStation 5 console comes out. So I'm not going. I don't care either way.
I never would. No, I never would though.
This is a bet that I thought was over that has now been extended by 3+ months. So
you genuinely thought it was over.
Can I shock you guys for just one second? How long do you think you've been arguing for?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
This is going to be a 2-hour podcast.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that Jamie thought this would end the bet. I'm genuinely shocked that you thought that meant you were right.
Because the bet, again...
so what's the thing? Am I the arsehole? We need our commenters and our Discordians and our patrons to say, am I the arsehole? Because I don't think this is the end of the bet.
Because for me, the bet stemmed from the fact that you said you didn't think it would work at all, and I thought it would, and it does. That's for me. That is black and white.
No. From what they've said, it will do. It doesn't yet, because we don't know.
I guess Jonesy's point is correct in saying that like nothing is true until it's true.
PlayStation blog. Question: which existing PS4 peripherals and accessories will work on the PlayStation 5? Answer: the DualShock 4 wireless controller and PlayStation officially licensed third-party gamepad controllers will work with supported PS4 games.
Okay, interesting, because I read a whole blog thing about it, and they didn't put those two things in the same section.
Yeah,
they had a section where they said...
But I can vouch for Jonesy in terms of this, in that plans change all the time, and until it is in your hands and physically there for you to try it out, I can most definitely see where Jonesy is saying that. Like,
I guess
they could still backtrack. You look at what happened with the Xbox One and how much backtracking they did with that.
Yeah.
What they say now to what happens at
Agreed.
release, it may change.
I guess to answer what Jonesy was saying before about why he might be surprised as to why I thought the bet was over, is because I think given the nature of the bet, I think no matter to what degree you think I'm right, there's no question that you were 100% wrong, and that's why I thought you might concede. And you can disagree with that, and that's fine.
See, I would say that if you said how wrong am I, 100%, I would say not at all.
You are 100% wrong.
No, I wasn't.
Jonesy,
I'm not.
You are 100% wrong. Chris asked you. You said.
Hold on. Let me throw Chris's words back at him, because he just said you were the 100% wrong. You said Jamie was 50%.
Yeah,
so
but you can't. No, you're right. So Jamie is only 50% as soon as you start getting into the specifics of it. And I think whether you're in the generality of it or whether you're in the specifics of it, you are wrong 100% in both instances.
What?
Yep.
If you okay, this is ridiculous.
because Chris said to you,
I'm wrong.
Chris said
I was wrong.
100% wrong. 100% wrong.
No. Does it work with a PlayStation 5? To a degree,
no,
it does.
Because Chris said quote at all, and you said yes. Does it work at all? And you said,
and I was wrong.
Hence, 100%
wrong I was. No, but I wasn't 100% wrong, because I said, to what degree was I wrong? Because it doesn't work with a lot of aspects.
There aren't degrees of wrongness here, Jonesy. It's right or wrong, and you were wrong.
So how wrong were you?
I wasn't wrong. It works.
So you're gonna sit at home with your PlayStation 5 and your PS4 controller, and you're gonna have a great old time playing all your games that you get for PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna boot up The Last of Us.
we'll see how
I'm going
that
to boot up The
goes.
Last of Us Part 2, day one. I'm going to play it with a DualShock 4. I'm going to send you a picture of me in my chair with my dick out, rock hard.
That's not what I said.
In the foreground.
I said you're going to
a
sit there.
PlayStation 5 running a Last of Us 2 with my
You're going to
DualShock
sit
4
there for a
controlling it.
year with your PlayStation 4 controller crying that you can't play any PlayStation 5 games because it doesn't work. But you're going to sit there still going, but I was right, with your little PlayStation 4 controller.
I was right. And you're going to sit there day one. You're going to get the manual of the PlayStation 5 out. Jazz is going to be screaming at you, and you're going to be scrambling through it, saying, "There's got to be something here about how it doesn't work." But it does.
I'm
works.
psyched for day. Do you know what? I'm so psyched for day one. It's ridiculous now. I'm going to be there just trying it straight away to see if it does. It doesn't. So, and to what degree? Anyway, I think people need to let us know in the comments who they agree with and who they don't.
Wow. If you guys argue for 5 more minutes, then you would have been arguing about it for half an hour. So
Let's not do that. Because we might actually get something else to argue about quite soon.
Oh yeah, fuck! We got another thing to record. That's all about arguing.
yeah, I don't know if I've got time to do it now.
Oh, good lord.
Well, we'll figure it out, guys. Anyway, if you've come to the end of it and you've managed to survive past that almost 30-minute rant on whether a PS4 controller will work on a PS5 or not, thank you and congratulations. And you have the patience of a saint. And we owe you our eternal gratitude, I guess.
Let's be fair. We gave them an out to say stop listening now.
We did. To be fair, if you're here, you're still listening, it's your own goddamn fault. So there you go. Yeah. What is the code word, fellas? I mean, despite the fact that we want people to vote on who or what they can make sense of this fucking crazy situation, what is the code word for getting themselves to the end here? I had one in mind.
Let's hear it.
But I can't remember exactly what it was.
Oh no!
It was the Michael. What do we say? The Michael Bay thing.
Oh god.
Michael Van Bay or something.
Oh no! Michael Bay. Michael Vay Bibes.
That was it.
Michael Vay Bibes. There we go. That's what do you think of that one? Michael Vay Bibes.
That's good.
That works. Yeah.
Michael Vay Bibes. And with that, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube or listening, if you're listening on a podcast platform of your choice, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube and give us 5 stars on, I guess it's only iTunes, but there you go. And with that, we'll see you next time.
See ya.